All right, start streaming. Okay.
Start
Well,
stream.
we have completely unironic, like, opening food noises because I still haven't finished my noodles. I got.
You still haven't finished them?
No, they were too warm. They were too hot.
Beep, beep.
They were too.
I'm gonna open a Dr. Pepper, guys. Just gonna. Was that like super loud, like that one?
That was pretty good. That was pretty good. It wasn't like crazy loud, but it was a nice. All right, so I got my noodles. All right, you got your pop. All right.
I did. I got it open. Just gonna get Dan just to go.
This is proper mukbang. This is just some like cheap Mr. Noodles ramen with like a fistful of frozen peas and a fistful of frozen corn.
Oh, like in there, or you added those?
I added.
Items?
Yeah, I added.
So you take your ramen to the next level by adding things.
Yes, but I still keep the cost like below $1.
Right.
Because it's frozen vegetables.
That was me opening my chips. I never got into ramen, but what I did used to do was I would make one of those the boiling bag rice packets, just like a plain rice. And I would make one of those, and however much rice that is, like I would eat as one serving, which is probably way more than you would ever want to eat of rice. But then I would also make a couple hard-boiled eggs. I don't eat cold hard-boiled eggs. So
no.
They had to, I made them like hot, and then I would eat them with the rice. And that was my like knockoff ramen. Be like, here's a little shot of protein, and then just like a shit ton of rice. And I'd feel really full, and I'd be eating some of the things that you need in a meal.
No, this isn't quite a noodle experience callback because these are wait a second. What the hell are these cheap ramen noodles even made of? Are they a wheat noodle? Or are they a rice noodle? I think they're a rice noodle, aren't they?
I think they're I don't know.
I don't actually know.
I don't remember.
But so the noodle experience.
I just finished rewatching the first season of Mind of a Chef with David
Yeah,
Chang,
but these cheap ones.
For 5 episodes about ramen.
Like I know that like proper ramen would be a rice noodle, but like grocery store ramen, what is it? They're probably a wheat noodle, right? Or is ramen supposed to be a wheat noodle?
TJ says
I thought it was supposed to be
wheat noodles.
I thought, but anyway, so the noodle experience was soba noodles, which are a really thick wheat noodle. So, grocery store ramen is made from the insulation they use on the ISS. I feel like that's actually far more expensive than what ramen is actually made.
Eating that sweet ASMR chip crunching. Just gonna.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Even proper ramen isn't rice noodles. Okay. All right. So, we are learning so much about ramen and noodles, and I feel like I just about knocked my soup into my lap. Wouldn't that just be rich? So right before we started, what were we talking about? We were talking about something that was kind of interesting.
Oh, I didn't know if that was something you wanted to talk about openly, because I didn't know if you wanted to make that a public commitment. That's why I asked you before we started. But if you do, I'm happy to make that our intro topic.
I mean, we've kind of talked about it before in the filmmaking Q&A. Like, so this stuff like this has come up, and I spend so much time talking about like the business of online video that I feel like it is appropriate.
Go for
so
it.
Let's get some.
Talk about it.
Yeah, you reintroduce it, and I've got my bowl up right on camera so that it looks real good while I.
You gonna eat? It'll be perfect. We could talk about how this channel is now officially sponsored by Minute Ramen Cup of Noodle, and from now on, Dan will be starting every stream by slurping up some of those great, wonderful cup of noodles.
Only $1 a pack.
Only $1 a pack, and he's actually not required to show the packaging on camera as per his licensing agreement. So that's why it's in a normal bowl. So what we were talking about before Dan started slurping down noodles was I was asking him if, you know, he ever foresaw himself accepting any sponsorship deals. We were joking about trying to get Dr. Pepper to be the official drink of Folding Ideas game streams because we both drink so much Dr. Pepper, and Dan constantly has about 50 cans sitting on his computer desk. So we
cleaned them all up today. Only 2.
Oh, only 2 today? Let's see it. Just aim that camera down a little. Just tilt it.
Nah, I'm just gonna lift them.
Oh, okay. I don't know if that counts. You could have lifted like only 2 of about 40.
My desk is still otherwise like a complete disaster, so.
Okay.
Like there is very much a like filmmaking artifice here where it's like everything looks nice and dressed until about like here. Like the edge of frame is pretty much where respectability ends.
Where the shit stops.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
we were talking. Yeah, we were talking about. We keep starting our sentences at the exact same time.
Go. It's your
no,
turn.
you go. You go.
No, I was just introducing the topic. Dan.
It works so much better when you actually like pose a question to me, though.
Okay, so Dan.
Because you originally posed because that was our discussion. Is you posed a question to me, and then I answered the question, and it turned into an interesting discussion.
Okay,
I'm trying to recapture that lightning in a bottle.
It's true. I'm a very good host/interviewer. So I'll just play that role for you. So, Dan, do you ever foresee yourself on the channel like accepting any sponsorship deals? I know that you've talked in the past about, you know, kind of trying to keep your work separate from those kinds of, you know, contracts and things, but is there a world or a product, is there a world in which you can see yourself accepting some kind of sponsorship deal or like an agreement with a company?
And not really, because I don't think there's a lot of products that fit well with me. So I don't feel comfortable with a like straight sponsorship type stuff where it's like at the end of every episode, it's like, hey everybody, I just wanted to let you know that this was cut on Adobe Premiere Pro. New Creative Cloud subscribers get 5% off if you go to creativecloud.com and sign up with the sponsor code corn. Corn. It's what keeps our working class alive.
That would be your fucking code.
So because of that, like, so it's like I don't really feel comfortable with anything like that. The only other thing that I kind of would sort of feel comfortable with would be straightforward, which is like just products for review, which is where the only string attached. So somebody sends you a thing, and the only string attached is you need to talk about the thing.
Right, and there's no like contractual. It has to be positive.
Yeah.
Or
it's entirely like you just need to talk about it. And the thing there is that the stuff that I kind of would feel comfortable in that realm is this not really fit with the channel. So it's like people don't really come, like even if the people who watch my channel would be kind of okay with it, people really aren't here to like hear my opinion about the Blackmagic Video Assist 7-inch. You know, it's like, that's not what this channel is for. It's not what it's built a following for. That's not why people would send me stuff. And it's, yeah. So the things that people would send me are the kind of things that I in turn would not feel comfortable agreeing to that. So I have had some people be like, hey, we're going to send, it's like, if we send you our game, would you talk about it? Would you play it on stream, or would you talk about it on the channel? And I've turned those down, or I have just quietly not responded because I'm made a little bit uncomfortable by it, because since I focus so much on, narratology, narrative theory, story and structure, and techniques, I don't feel comfortable just being like, yeah, sure, send me something and I will make an essay out of it. Because it's like, because I'm not just doing straightforward reviews.
Right.
And so I feel like that would just kind of open this door to, like, basically it's like, hey, give us feedback on our movie. And it's like,
right. Well, it's the same, I guess then at that point, it's the same thing as VidMe being like, hey, tell us how to fix our platform.
Yeah, it's headed in kind of that, like,
it's a similar direction.
It's headed in that writer's room direction of, like, it's like, hey, can you just tell us what you think of our thing? Can you, it's a little bit different than, like, hey, can you read my script? But it's still in that vein,
Right.
Like, it's not the same, because it's like, obviously, if someone's like, hey, can you read my script? It's because they want to get it made. Like, it's not a product that exists yet, where if someone's like, hey, can you review my movie? The movie's already done. It's like, all right, well, you're probably not going back and fixing this, but, like, maybe the next time around, or maybe it's good, or maybe it's bad. But I don't, until I've seen something, I don't know what I can say about it. And so I don't feel like, and the thing is that a lot of the stuff that people just kind of want to blindly send you, it's like, there's not a lot to say about it. It's kind of like, it's all right, good job. Like, there's nothing, it's not awful. There's nothing outstandingly bad about it.
Questions to you.
Yeah, it's not a great example of anything, either as a failure or as a success. And so it would be really ham-handed to, like, work in those references.
What if, okay, what if there was a film or something that you already planned on doing an episode about? What if you were to reach out to them and say, hey, I'm going to do this about your film, game, whatever, and see if there was anything that they could offer you in exchange for, like, not necessarily in exchange for the thing, because you were already going to do it, but, like, as a tie-in or a... you know what I mean? Like, to add to the discussion in any way.
So the hazard is basically you're looking to make a deal for mutual sponsorship, at which point there's going to be editorial control. If they're going to take your thing, you would basically then only be able to do that in serendipitous circumstances where it's like, hey, so let's say the 10th anniversary edition of The Fountain is coming out, and for whatever reason they plan on doing, like, a big theatrical, like, re-release and, a whole huge push with it or something, and it's like, hey, hey guys, I really, really like, I love this movie so much. I love The Fountain to death. I'm planning on doing a video about it and why I think it's awesome. Can we do something together? And, so it's like I plan on saying unambiguously and honestly positive things about it, but
right.
They're still going to want editorial control. They're going to want, like, approval on it. They're going to want veto power. They're going to get a lot of control over it that isn't necessarily a good move. And in general, like, I don't know, I just really don't feel comfortable. I don't feel like I kind of feel like any degree of brand synergy that that basically isn't 100% serving me, is out of character of the channel. And so now what I mean by serving me is that if I plan a video to coincide with the 10th anniversary release of the fountain, because I know, because I'm looking at the landscape and being like, oh, hey, this is going to be relevant again. People are going to be talking about it. It's going to be timely. You know,
right.
That's me reading the landscape and making a decision based on that. Like, that's just me picking something semi-strategically that I was kind of already planning on saying. It's not any different than being like, hey, we're going to have a Halloween episode because it's Halloween.
Right.
You know, so...
Okay, so what if though, for example, okay, so say you use Premiere, right?
I do, yeah.
Okay, so like what if Adobe did contact you and were like, hey, we want to sponsor your channel, and it was already a product that you believe in, and, you know, you, with a, not all, but some of these deals, like, for example, you know, Audible, they're just like, hey, we want you to say 10 seconds or 15 seconds about Audible, but you can tie it into your episode in any way you wanted. So what if you got a similar deal from Adobe? They're like, hey, we've heard you say that you use our product, or people have told us that you do. We'd like to sponsor you, and we just want you to say something about Adobe at the end of each episode. Or something.
So I I actually have opinions about this, because it's like, obviously there's a lot of folks out there who have made these deals, and I think they are getting dramatically underpaid for them.
Okay.
Because here's the thing: is so the deal that's being cut is focused on like basically like a 1 month increment. So it's like, all right, we'll give you $2,000 to make like 5 videos. So like 5 videos, you know, have this reference in them, and we'll give you $2,000. But it's focusing on just that like narrow lifespan of the like initial burst on a video. But really what you're doing is you're giving them advertising in perpetuity. You're not running an ad. You're not running an ad for 2 weeks on, you know, on the slot between Wheel of Fortune and Jeopardy. You're embedding an ad into the fabric of your product for as long as that product exists. Yeah.
Right. That is something I actually didn't think about that. That's a really interesting point.
Yeah, and I don't think a lot of people are thinking about that, and I think they're getting dramatically underpaid on those videos. Now, the thing is that a video will make the majority of its money in its initial burst, but a lot of videos, particularly the kind of people who are needing to fall back on these brand deals, like they're making longer, more complex videos, and those have a much longer tail on them than you know, a lot of this than a lot of the other stuff out there. Like, so I was just watching some Dark Souls lore videos earlier this afternoon, just because they came up in my like what to watch next. And you know, these are like 3-year-old videos, 4-year-old videos, and people are still watching them. You know, it's still getting brought up as a recommended thing. I mean, my Suicide Squad video has been consistently one of my highest performers every single month since it came out in January. Well, since it came out in December, but since January, like it has always been one of the top 3 performing videos of any given month for like half a year. So if I had embedded ad, they're not getting, you know, a spot Thursday afternoons at 2:30. They're getting a spot in this video until I take the video down and change it. And I can't just swap it out. YouTube doesn't have the infrastructure to let me embed an ad for 2 months and then replace the video with a version. You know, the only way to do it would be to break all links, all embeds, upload a new copy that doesn't have the same traction
then you're going to be starting your counter over, which affects your actual ad revenue
Yeah.
also.
And that specific video, like, because the float value of a video is attached to its specific identity. So it's on a mechanical level, that it's not just, oh, Dan's Suicide Squad video, it's this specific address, this video ID is the one that has that float value attached to it that lets it position itself within the algorithm. And so if you take a video down and replace it with an identical video, it doesn't carry that. Even if it's the same video, it doesn't carry the same value. You know, this is the whole thing where you know, freebooting and stuff like that, like taking people's videos and just uploading them whole onto Facebook, like just because, or even just straight up booting someone's videos. Like there's many times where it's like, oh, the bootlegs of my videos do, not me particular, but like in the abstract, where it's like the bootlegs of someone's videos are more popular than the ones on their official channel. That the re-uploads get more traffic than the originals. And this happens on all platforms, and because it's not that specific content, it's the granularly specific, like machine identification. So, yeah.
So that is interesting. So you're right. I mean, they're paying for what seems like logically, oh yeah, that's what they're paying for. They're paying for 5 runs of the ad. But because of the way YouTube works, it's not TV. There needs to be like a different classification.
Yeah. And the thing is
how YouTube ad works.
We don't really know how. Oh, hello, Amy. Hey.
Kitty Cam.
We don't really know what a video is worth is the problem, because it's so variable.
Right.
And you don't know whether a video is going to have a really long tail or not. Or
How do you feel though about people paying for embedded ads the same way that YouTube compensates for ads based on views? I mean, that makes some sense, right? So like if I put a video up with a sponsorship by Adobe in it and it gets, X thousands of views, then I should be compensated for X thousands of views.
That's not how the deals are cut. That would make sense
then,
because that would make sense. More sense. It would, in the sense that, like, yes, then it would better reflect the long-term life of the embedded ad. But that's not how the deals are framed, and that's not how they're cut.
They're paid like a flat fee for X amount of editions of ads.
They're paid a flat fee on a guarantee of performance. So it'll be like, okay, we'll pay you $10,000 to play Shadow of Mordor on stream if you can guarantee that the video is going to get 1.2 million hits. Mm-hmm. Something like that's the way that they're termed, is you basically have a threshold that you need to meet, or they
don't pay you for it.
Don't pay you, yeah. I would assume, I've never gone through with one of them, so I believe how it is it's like it's half up front. So basically you get an advance for and this is depending on scale. So if it were a $10,000 buy, then you'd get $5,000 up front, and then if you meet the performance, then you would get the other $5,000. If it's smaller, if it's like a $2,000 thing, they're not even going to give you the money until you perform. So there's a good chance that, like, let's say you're a moron and you do a $2,000 deal for a 1 million hit guarantee of performance, and you come in at 900,000. Well, they're not going to give you anything, but you still gave them 900,000.
Right.
Yeah.
Crazy.
We really need to expand the education channels, the education platforms for telling channel operators and creators how to protect themselves and like what they're worth. And yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely something that there's not a lot of stuff out there about.
Just to back up to that last example, that awful deal, 2,000 for a million hits proof of performance, that'll have a time limit on it as well. So it'll be like 1 million in 30 days. And so if it crawls up to 1 million in 9 weeks, you still don't get paid. You don't get paid when it crosses 1 million. You only get paid if it crosses 1 million within the time frame of the deal.
Oh yeah. Which like on their end makes sense. It not even in the sense of like well yeah, it makes sense because they're getting free advertising, but like, so they're going to try to fuck you, which, no corporation is truly above on certain levels. But it also makes sense from just a general business standpoint. I mean, like if I want 1 million views on something and it's timely, like, my Wonder Woman branded Dr. Pepper cans, limited time, there's a contest involved. It does make sense that I would want those views within the time frame that makes sense for that product. So, I mean, it's not, it's all brought to you in a way that sounds completely logical and makes a lot of sense.
Because that's the kind of deals that they normally cut. Is they're used to, like, that it's like, okay, my Wonder Woman branded Dr. Pepper cans, which, I mean, I don't have any of them. I had a couple still lying around here because I'm a slob. That it's like, that those are a consumable product. And so it's like, even though the cans theoretically exist in perpetuity, like, they're not on shelves in perpetuity. Right. They eventually run out of stock. And, like, maybe there's still some stragglers out there at in a bodega in Brooklyn, but the time frame makes sense because it is a consumable thing. Yeah. So what was
it's hard to know like when, like, what you're doing to protect yourself but also makes sense for like what's reasonable to ask. It's like negotiating a salary, like, for anything, like what is negligible to this business, like, isn't going to take off their top line in a way, but also is valuable to me. Like, if you can't pay me what I want in salary dollars, how about I take what you're offering, but then you give me, like, you pay for my transportation costs to work, or, you know what I mean? Like, these other ways. It's that same thing where, because there's not a lot of stuff out there telling creators how to protect themselves and what's reasonable and what their time and their videos are truly worth, it's hard for people to have something to go to a table like that with and go, okay, I see why you want this time limit on it, and that's fine, but you're still going to get views in general for, it might not, you might not have the Wonder Woman contest going anymore for Dr. Pepper, but there's still going to be this video out there that says I drink Dr. Pepper and I like it for, all time.
Yeah.
So no one really knows how to go to that table and talk about it.
So here's what I would end up doing if it were a straight up paid video, where it's like, oh, brand has paid Dan Olson to say popular things about, or to say positive things about their stuff, is I might just once in my career, I want to take one of those so I can screw with it. So, because then when the time limit's done, I'm taking that sucker down. I don't care how much kind of like lasting traction it's got. I'm taking it down, recutting it, and then re-uploading it.
Right.
Because I was already paid for it. Like, if they paid me to make it, well, I already got the bulk of my, and the thing is I would have already gotten the bulk of my money from it, because their 30-day expectation would also align with like the biggest spike in traffic, even though it's going to have a tail on it. And then me being who I am, I can always, like, the re-upload can just be repurposed into another object lesson that would itself basically count as fresh content, which would then respike minus the ads.
I would be interested in if you would be ever if a company like I would be interested in how much the company actually is aware of that this is what they're doing, and how much is just like, well, this is how ads work, and so we're just going to keep treating this as if it's just TV. Because I would be interested if you would be contacted in any way to be like, hey, like, we paid you for this ad and then you took it down. Like, I would be interested to know if it's a matter of this is how things are always been done, so we're just going to keep doing it that way because no one truly understands what YouTube is as a platform or as a media consumption, and how much of it is somebody going, no, like, we're paying them this flat rate, but we get perpetual advertisement. Like,
okay, so I would, if I had to guess what's in their minds, I think at least many of them cutting these deals are aware that they are getting a overvalue, like that they are undervaluing the sale. You know, that they're getting the better half of the deal. I think they know that they're getting the better half of the deal because of the perpetuity, but I think in the event, like, as long as you didn't like overtly violate the contract, like if they had a time frame on it, if they're like, all right, this is basically like a 2-month thing and you need to hit these things within 60 days. If that's the situation and you stick to that, and like 61 days out, like, so, you know, 61 days they pay you, 62 days you delete the video. I mean, the worst that they can do is be like, oh man, we're not getting our, like,
residual.
We're not getting our residual value out of this. Screw that guy, we're not going to cut a deal with him again. Like, the worst that would happen is you would get, like, that they would not on a personal level like you anymore.
Sure.
But they wouldn't have any recourse. Like, you didn't violate the contract.
Have any official, but to be fair, not having any official recourse usually does not stop corporations from trying to intimidate, or like, because you would probably get an
an email that would be like, hey, you dickbag, why are you doing this? And like you would get an, like, but it would be an interpersonal argument. Like, this is what I'm saying. Okay, like they would dislike you on a personal level, on an individual level, and they might try to push you around in that way. But like, they're not going to call their lawyers and have their lawyers draft up a, like, you, because it's like you didn't violate anything.
Right.
They're just going to try to push you around. Like, they might try to push you around a little bit. At which point you just tell them to screw off. You did nothing wrong, and then they blacklist you and they never call you again.
Sure. Okay, so we've talked about some really interesting stuff. As a wrap up, you might accept one of these deals in the future to fuck with it in some fashion, and B, you in general would not accept any kind of sponsorships, but you might consider taking a one-off pseudo review, like, I'll talk about this one time, but that's all I have to say. Like, I'm not going to promise anyone will say positive things about the product on my channel.
Now, the one thing sort of that I will do, if anyone's looking to send me, is I do commissioned stuff for publications, or like if Vox just sent me an email yesterday being like, hey man, you want to throw together a video on subject X, you know, sure. Like, because that's not working for the brand, that's working for the ideas. And then then that's actually being paid for the expertise of saying something about a subject, as opposed to...
You're not just saying, like, this is a good game thing.
Yeah. Thing. You know, so like if Polygon's like, hey, we're looking to do video reviews, but they're going to be kind of like traditional consumer product, like, you know, you gotta rate the game at the end of it and basically tell people if it's worth their money, and, you know, do it in a review format or like written stuff. Like I'd do that, you know, like commission stuff for a publication, commission stuff for a site. But like sponsored stuff is, yeah, sponsored stuff. If I take any sponsored stuff in the future, you can pretty much assume that I've got some plan to screw with them in some way.
All right, guys, you heard it here first. You heard it. You're committed now, Dan, to your never being officially sponsored.
They're never gonna. No one's gonna call me. Like, that's the thing. Like, this is moot because
you say that now, though. But your channel's been growing. Like, what if? You know?
Yeah.
What if?
Yeah. Are we gonna play X-Men Destiny? Yeah, at some point. I just need to get a non-sealed copy that I can play, because my sealed copy is staying sealed.
As a giveaway, maybe.
As a giveaway, maybe. So I did get my press credentials for PAX.
Nice.
For PAX West. So I will, and I have booked everything. Now it's going to be a hell of a weekend, because I will be on set doing loading until $clock Friday night. And then I need to be at the airport for like 7 a.m. to get for my flight out to Seattle, and then get to the hotel, check in, drop my stuff off, get to the convention, do as many interviews as I can Saturday night, Sunday, or Saturday afternoon, Sunday day, and then get back on a plane Monday morning and get home and then sleep. And then back on set Tuesday morning. So that's going to be beautiful chaos. I'm really looking forward to that. That's going to be mildly exhausting. But so I am in the process right now of, I'm really excited for this, because having the press credentials, I discovered that when you're on the press list, people just started, like, game studios just start being like, hey, you want to come by our booth and see our stuff? And now that's sort of natural, but what it does on my end is it simplifies the process of like scheduling things with people, because you can just straight up, you now have a line to just be like, hey, can I come by at like 3:30 and talk with someone for 15-20 minutes? And so I can write all of my interview questions in advance, and I don't need to worry about like ice breaking, like walking up to a booth with my camera being like, hey, this looks interesting. Anyone want to talk to me on camera sometime, maybe?
Just maybe in the future. So what are you doing interviews at PAX for?
So what I'm going to be focusing on is I'm going to be, I want to talk to people about their story writing process, their game writing process, the value of stories. I want to talk with people about whether or not Undertale has changed audience expectations in regards to the way that story functions in games. A lot of, basically I want to talk with people about creative process. And then that's actually going to, so here's the thing, is that this ends up...
Is it going to be another mini-doc?
No, it will be a series of just standalone interviews, because that's going to be far easier on me, to just, all right, set up a camera, get some B-roll, get some game footage, but otherwise, just have somebody talk about their thing and talk about process, and then just cut those as standalone interviews is going to be a lot easier on me, and then that's going to end up being content for most of September.
Nice.
So that fills one of the problems we were talking about last week. Yeah. So,
are you going to conduct them as on-camera interviews? Are you going to be on the camera also and ask the questions?
Probably not, just because PAX is so crowded that there's not really any space for that, and I don't have a cam op. So
gotcha.
Yeah.
So it's just you. You're doing this solo.
Yeah, I'll just be there solo. So yeah, stuff like that. And there was something else. So the production. I combed over the stuff, all of the paperwork that I read, and there's basically nothing I can say about it, but I can say what it is that I'm working on. So I can say that I'm it's the Detour with Jason Jones, season 3. They're filming out here. That I discovered is in fact like public information. Sayable. That is sayable information. Basically, I can anything that the production has like personally said, I can say.
You can repeat what's already
I can repeat.
public.
So it's like, this is a thing that exists. They are in fact doing it, and they are shooting it here in Calgary, and I'm working on it. So that's what I'm going to be on for the next couple months, is season 3 of the Detour.
That's so exciting. I'm so excited for you.
So that's going to be cool. So I figured that actually being allowed to say that is going to make it a lot easier and be like, the production that I'm working on.
That one thing that I do sometimes.
Yeah. Also I discovered, and let's this will be we can flip over to game footage while we start. While I talk about this, it's like,
it up. We got a game we have to finish. We've been talking a long time. This is a long intro day.
Oh man, this was. I haven't. It looks like so this is 2007, and it looks like we don't have subtitles. So wait, continue? Did I already? No, new game, easy.
Yeah, easy mode. Do we got any cheats for this one? Let's just bolt it up on this one.
Okay, clearly I would assume there's somebody talking right now and over this stock footage and giving us background. But what was I saying? Oh, so we did a bunch of camera tests last week, and now I've been stressing out over this one. Like, this is honestly like one of the biggest jobs that I've ever had in this realm. And so, like, getting really nervous about screwing it up. And I discovered one of the beautiful things about like actual full-blown like real budget productions versus indie and micro budget stuff is that they have like separation of roles. And everything's a lot clearer. Like, so I was worried about like, it's like, okay, how am I gonna fit in all of these different like kind of tasks, and like, what if they want me to do this? What if they want me to do that? And then I'm having these meetings, and they're like, nope, you are literally just focused on getting data backed up and sent to this other guy, and his job is then getting the data from Calgary to LA, and then LA gets it to New York for editing. And I'm like, wait, like, so I have a singular role on this one, and it's
no more running out the night before to buy 70 hard drives on
your
own dime.
Oh man, and it's great. Yeah, like, because I can just I just walked into the office, and they're like, what do you need? I'm like, I'm gonna need a bunch of I'm gonna need the following hard drive. All right, how many do you need? I'm like, 8. And they're like, okay, we'll have those for you on Tuesday.
Here you go.
And it's like, all right, where do I need to come pick them up? And they're like, no, transport will have them waiting for you on set. We'll have them on the bus. So they should be there and waiting for you.
Are you just like insanely geeked out? I'm insanely geeked out.
I'm pretty. Oh, and then then it got even better, because I'm like, all right, well, when do I need to like drop them off? Like, how are we going to arrange like drive handoffs? And they're like, oh, just send it to just give it to transport, and transport will bring it. I'm like, so at the end of the day, I don't need to. It's like, no, go home, get some sleep. That's their job.
Isn't it lovely? I remember going from like doing different kinds of levels of theater production, and like, there's like baby level, which is like, hey, not only are you in the show, but you're also like 50 different parts in the chorus, and you have to help build the set, and you have to like paint your stuff, and you have to find your own props, and you have to find your own thing. And then, like, as you go up, you're like, wait, you know, by the time you hit that level where you can just, like, all you have to do is memorize the script and, like, do your job as an actor, and there's actually other people responsible for all the things. You're just like, this is great. Why doesn't everybody do it this way?
All right, L3. L3 is crouch. I haven't played a console FPS in... It's been a bit. It's been a while.
Oh, well, before you fully go into console, Alex H was wondering if you could talk a little bit about what your role actually is. Like, what exactly are you doing? What is maybe the name of it? Like,
sure. So normally I work under the title. So
I
on
know you
indie
talked
stuff.
a little bit before about, like, oh, I'm backing up data, but, like, so what gives, like, you know, talk to people like they don't know what a professional film site works like.
Okay, so on a
hello
on like a, what am I? Can you hear me?
If you're talking, I can't hear you.
Oh, you can't hear me.
Let me see if my Hangouts went away.
No, I can still.
You're there.
I can still hear you just
no,
fine.
I can see your
is chat? I think like your headphones came unplugged or something. Chat, tell her that her headphones came unplugged. Yeah, chat can hear both of us because I can hear you.
I can hear you. No, it's not. I can hear you if I can hear you but if I unmute the actual gaming stream, but I cannot hear you anymore through Hangouts.
I don't know what to tell. Maybe here, let me. Well, no, my Hangouts clearly wouldn't have crashed because I can hear you just fine. I have no idea. I'm not following orders. I'm not following orders. The game is chastising me for my...
Well, I can still see your portrait, and I can see your, like, sound waves coming out of it. So did you just accidentally mute?
No, I didn't touch anything. My hands have been on the controller. I'm playing the game.
Follow the orders, Dan!
Okay, well, how about you, like, reset and rejoin the Hangout, and I will talk about my role on films. I don't know what this guy wants me to do, because I can't hear. But this is my mission target. Huh. Did anybody catch what he wants me to do? Well, these are a bunch of friendlies. Oh, there we go. I just needed to move past him so that he would move. All right. So on indie film sets, I usually operate under the title of DIT or DIT. Use the mounted gun, of course. Of course, we've got a mounted gun segment. It's a World War II shooter.
Back.
You're back. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me for real?
I can hear you for realsies through the Hangout, not the game streams. So,
okay, so I think it was
Google.
your end, like
yeah,
your headphones did something. Like Hangouts must have stopped being, like, sending stuff to your headphones or whatever.
No, because well, okay, yeah, maybe Hangouts to my headphones, because you were still hearing me talk, and I could hear you through the game stream. It was just Google being freaking weird.
Yeah, so I think Hangouts on your end did something. But so when I'm operating under the title of DIT, I usually end up doing a lot of different things. It's kind of an all-purpose job title that doesn't really have a well-defined boundary. Like, it changes dramatically based on what specific subgenre of the industry you're working in. So for example, like even if we're talking like Hollywood level, so like documentary dits have far different roles than like news gathering dits, and they have far different roles than a dit on a television series versus a film. And yeah, so even at like the highest levels, like it's still a pretty malleable job title. And what I am usually focused on, so like what it can potentially include is all of the data management, all of the image management, on-set color grading, dailies generation, backups, and kind of just a lot of other things all in that chain. And this goes back to how the job started, that back in, like, keeping in mind that like this job is actually only like 15, 17 years old.
Okay, so side question then. If it's not that old, kind of like, how did you find your way into it? Because this wouldn't have been a role that would have been widely being taught at, say, like university, when you would have been.
No, in fact, actually,
because, you know, not only is academia like years behind any real world jobs within the fields, but like, you know, the ones that have more recent, they're not even going to exist at school.
Yeah, well, actually, at my technical college, like there was no training for this until I put it in there when I rewrote their curriculum last year.
Oh, right, when you're doing your online teaching?
When I was doing, so I got hired to do curriculum development last year, and so when I was doing that, like for the post production courses, and so when I was doing that, I was like, look, this is a growing thing that people need to know how to do, like that the data management aspect of post-production, like, and this sort of goes beyond just like the DIT stuff, like, but they didn't have anything in there about proper like data management and like how to properly name a file,
right,
so that people can keep track of it and stuff like that. Like, so I put that in there, like, because you're right, like there was no training for it. How I wound up getting into it is that, are these friendlies? These are friendlies. How I wound up getting into it is, so a couple years back, so there's a guy in town, there's a DP in town named Phil Bowen, who I've worked with a whole bunch. He's we've worked together on a lot of like corporate stuff and some indie stuff, and like, you know, a CBC, like really indie CBC television show, and some stuff for CTV, and some stuff for yeah. So we've done a bunch of stuff together, and an indie feature got funding here in town called Legend of the Lich Lord, and he was DP on it. And as you do on the indie stuff, it's like, hey, I'm a department head. I am going to stuff the department with all of my friends and people that I work with, because I'm used to working with them, and I know I work well as a team with them. You know, you get your camera assistants on board because they're your team. So he was doing what you do when you're a department head, and I'm like, hey man, like, is there anything? He's like, well, we've already got assistants, we've already got a B cam, but what we don't have is we don't have anyone doing DIT on the show. Have you ever? And I'm like, well, I've never really done that on anything this big before, but, you know, I don't know, maybe. He's like, well, you've got a lot of editing experience, right? I'm like, yeah. And he's like, well, you know, because it's kind of that like crossover, so I think you'd be a really good fit for it, and you should give it a try, and like, you know, maybe do a bit of research and, you know, check it out, let me know. And I'm like, yeah, sure. So I looked into it, and it was basically just, it's like, oh, well, okay, it's a lot of stuff that I already do in post-production. It's just doing it on set, and it's just backing files up, and it's a bunch of other stuff, and I'm like, okay, I could handle that. And so I took a crack at it, and I really actually enjoyed it a lot. And then because of that, because I had done that, then when In Plainview went So that's a micro budget that we shot last fall. So when In Plain View came up, my friend Scott, who's the producer, is like, well, hey, we want to get you on board, and you've done DIT before, so like the insurance company is totally like super happy that we could have somebody who has a credit in this position. Like, you know, yeah, that's great. So I did In Plain View, and now I had 2 features as DIT and doing data management.
Then now you're stuck.
Well, no, so kind of. So because of that, then Scott Lepp, producer on Ice Blue, this past spring, is like, hey, I need a DIT. Is anyone, you know, we're shooting this thing and it's going to be super complicated. We need someone to do the data, and I don't know if I need a DIT. And so he was talking with his pal Scott Westby, and Scott Westby's like, oh man, yeah, you definitely need a DIT. Like, we didn't think we needed a DIT on In Plain View until like we sat down with Dan, and he's like, oh yeah, here's all the things you need to consider. And it was all this stuff that we had never even thought about, and we would have been screwed if we hadn't brought him in. Like, just the sheer number of hard drives. Like, we thought we only needed, like, you know, this much, but it was like, no, we needed way more than that. Like, so he basically sold Scott on both, like, yes, you want to get a DIT, and you should get Dan because he's already done it like twice before. You know, he's got this experience, and so basically Westby gave Lepp my name, and Lepp hires me for Ice Blue. And then working on Ice Blue, I'm working with a DP named Nick Thomas, and Nick and I get along pretty well. We'd never worked together before, but he's like, no man, you were great. Like, everything was on time. He was getting all of his dailies. I was you know, doing a good job at kind of like at adjusting like the LUTs in any way that he needed. If he needed frame guides generated for the Alexa Mini, like, I could have those to him in a really good time. So he's like, yeah man, no, that was sweet, like, that was great, like, I'll definitely call you again. And then a few weeks ago, he calls me up because he's like, hey, we've got this shoot, and this is the one that I actually can't talk about it all, but so he's like, hey, we've got this shoot, it's just one day, like, it's going to be super straightforward, it's really simple, it's literally just like, you know, a couple takes of a single shot, and yeah, like, you know, you want to do it? And I'm like, sure, why not? Like, you know, it was basically a full day's pay for like 4 hours, and it was like, sweet. So I did that, and while I'm working on that, I get talking with one of the other people on set who's a local producer, and she's like, hey, we've got this show coming into town, and they don't have a DIT yet.
Ooh.
Because there's not enough people here in Calgary doing what you're doing, and the union wants to send us like someone from Manitoba, and we kind of want to keep, you know, we want to keep things in Alberta, and we definitely want to like fill gaps in like the skill set here in Alberta. And so I'm like, yeah, sure, keep my name, you know, keep me in your Rolodex. Like, if you can't find someone, let me know. And then sure enough, I get then I get a phone call.
So for the benefit of your viewers / followers and subscribers who want to also be content creators and things, when you found out that you had landed this professional gig, about like how many thoughts or hours of thoughts did you have of imposter syndrome, and how did I end up here? When
you know what? I didn't. It moved. Yeah. So on this one, it moved so fast. I didn't really have time to really get a huge imposter syndrome outbreak. Like, right around the time that I was starting to get like really super nervous was when I was heading in to do the so I had done one day of kind of like meetings, like filling out paperwork and stuff like that, and at the end of that day I was feeling pretty impostery and was getting pretty worried But then the next day was like camera tests, and so I went in, and it turns out that the second AC, like I know her, we actually went to school together, and then that was where it was like, okay, like, so it's like I had all my questions about like, hey, like, so what are people's expectations going to be? Do we have, do we have this? Do we have that? Am I gonna need this? Like, what's all of it? And they're just like, no. That was when they're just like, no, you literally only need to like focus on this one thing. You just need to focus on like on the data and data management and getting everything backed up properly. And so at that point, it was like the opposite of imposter syndrome. It was just like raw confidence.
Yeah.
It was like, oh man, this is gonna be sweet. Like nobody's gonna be asking me to do anything that I'm not comfortable with. Like, so it was very much like, all right, this entire thing is going to be within my comfort zone. And yeah, so I'm still worried. I mean, obviously I'm still worried about stuff. Like until we start shooting, there's a bunch of things that I just don't know. So I do know we're doing, like, we have multiple cameras, and so I'm assuming that those are going to be running pretty good, but I'm also kind of making assumptions about how the flow of the production is going to go in regards to like the kind of judicious professionalism of it. Like, I'm assuming that the directors and whatnot are going to be, they're going to be pros, they're going to be on the ball, they're not going to be doing like 50 takes of every shot, they're not going to be like saying action and then just letting the camera roll until the card runs out. They're not going to be doing like, it's a tight production. Like, so I'm making these assumptions that it's like, all right, it's going to be sane and sensible, and people are going to have a head on them about like kind of the realities of what they're doing. And so under those assumptions, it's like, all right, I'm going to need like this much hard drive space per day. It's going to take, it takes this long to offload a card, and it's going to take them approximately this long in order to generate a full card's worth of data. And you're making kind of all of these assumptions, but there's always still that worry that it's like, you don't know until you're actually there how it's going to play out.
Right.
So there's always that fear that it's like you're going to show up on the first day and it's going to be, it's like, it is, you were wrong about everything. That it's like, they're just like, hey man, we're shooting video, we're uploading everything to the cloud, we don't need to worry about record time at all. And they're just going to turn the cameras on and let them run. And it's going to be like, all right, you're getting a new full card every like 25 minutes. And it's just gonna, I'm gonna be sitting there, and like, it's just, the backlog is just gonna be piling up. It's gonna be like, oh no, oh no. So there is still that anxiety, but cause that worst case, like, what if everything is actually awful? Hey, I've got a new job, it's gonna be really sweet. Then the night before, you're like, what if everyone's mean to me? What if they don't like me? What if they've all got, they've all got their own tables in the lunchroom, and lunch comes and I don't have anyone to sit with and they don't like me.
Oh,
what
Dan,
do I do?
Dan, did you have to sit by yourself at lunch when you were a baby? Did baby Dan have to sit alone at lunchtime?
Intentionally. I had to hide.
Oh, you had to hide?
Oh, I had one school that I went to that was just awful. It was it was awful.
Oh, that's not okay. I don't like these people who are mean to my friends when they were little babies.
Yeah.
This upsets me.
So, yeah, so there's still, that anxiety that, what if everything is actually like awful? And then I guess maybe there is some creeping imposter syndrome that, like, I have been falsely persuaded into believing that I'm only going to have to focus on, this one thing, and then someone way above my pay grade is going to show up on set and just be like, yo, do this for me. Like, it's going to be the producer is going to come into my van and just be like, it's like, hey man, I need this, and I need it in like 20 minutes. And it's be like, what? I can't
tell you. Yeah, like maybe on the casting couch, Dan. You didn't think you got this job for nothing.
that went some.
Oh no! I'm hurting Dan. He's coughing to death. I can't tell you how many jobs that I have eventually quit because the job description listed on like the hiring notice and the job description described to me in the interview process and the actual job duties expected of me once I was hired were all completely different.
Yeah.
Like, the best example I can think of is I was a photo tech at a Walgreens for some time. And Walgreens, so this is a fun little interesting behind the scenes moment for anyone who enjoys a good shop at a Walgreens. I'm not sure if it's how it works now, but I'm assuming it is, because why would Walgreens ever change anything? They have the weirdest management structuring system I've ever seen in my life. So what they did was they would have a pool of managers that all belonged to like a section of stores, not like a full region because that's too big, but it would be like a sect. There'd be like 4 or 5 stores within an area because, as you know, Walgreens are freaking everywhere. So like 4 or 5 stores, they're probably all about the same distance from each other, you know, from some central point. And the managers would work for, yes, Algae says a sub-region. Yeah, kind of like a sub-region. So there'd be like, say, 4 or 5 or so stores. And there'd be like, say, so there'd be like 15 managers for 5 stores. And each store would have 3 different managers. And then they would just rotate them around. Like they would just, like, your managers would change one at a time in a cycle, like once a month. So you'd have 2 of the same managers like 1 month you'd have 3, the next month you'd have 2 of the same, but one of them would change. Then the next month the new one and one of the old ones would stay, and then one of the old ones would leave, and then the third month so every 3 months you'd have 3 completely new managers.
I just want to point out something with the game. This guy's like, we need to find a place to set up this radio. And he's like, it's too dense here. And then he walks like 10 feet and he's like, nope, still too dense. And it's like, dude, we haven't left yet. We haven't gone anywhere. Also, this game in general is like, what if Call of Duty was still bad, but wasn't hard?
So yeah. So they would rotate them around. And
wait, we didn't set up the radio. We shot some Japanese dudes, and now we're running back to tell start. We didn't set up the radio.
You're bad.
All right, Walgreens.
Freaking Walgreens. So every 3 months you'd end up with like 3 different managers. But here's the best part though. Every single one of those managers would have their own idea of what my job duties were as the photo tech.
Yeah.
So once a month, I would have a new person some of the days of the week who would just have a completely different idea of what I was supposed to do. So I had managers who were like, no, you are only allowed in the photo tech section and don't leave it. You shouldn't be doing things outside of there because that's what you do. And if it gets slow, then you rearrange the photochemical cupboard or something, like find something else to do in the photo section. Then you'd have other managers who were like, no, you are also the person who has to restock and front face all of the merchandise in the cold section because it's along the same wall as the photo tech.
Yeah.
So you're like, okay, and you already have fridge access because some of your photochemicals are kept in the fridge, and some of the like the film and things are kept there. So you're like, okay, and then they'd be like, no. So then you'd have other managers who'd be like, no, you're not only responsible for all of that, but you're also responsible for like the 2 or 3 closest aisles to that end of the store. So you have to also
and if they're short up front, you got to grab a till and
yeah. So like she's like, oh, and if the front register goes down, you're the checkout now, because you have a register. And then you'd have some managers who are like, you should not be ringing anyone up at the photo area unless they're also purchasing photo items. So it was just like all of this, and you cannot, like, once a month, everything would change. But not only that, though, because you had 3 different managers.
And they didn't have, like, an SOP handbook?
Yeah, so, like, depending on what day of the week you were working, you'd have to come in and be like, oh, I'm working with Patrick today. That means I can just chill in the photo section. Or, oh, I'm working with Nancy today, so I have to do the 4 aisles closest to me and, you know, ring people up at the front and, like, also do makeup. Like there was no communication.
And man, did my squad just get blown up by a mortar? Did they just... Oh, no, they survived. That landed right on them, but they survived. Rough. And yes, the mines were popping into existence as I got closer to them.
That was good times. So yeah, I went absolutely insane, and I managed to find another job before I officially had to quit. But I remember going in, I gave them my 2 weeks, and then I worked 2 more days of that, and I just couldn't take it anymore. I was like, no, you know what, I gave you 2 weeks, but I'm done. Once the shift is over, like, reschedule, because I'm out of here.
Like, I'm technically employed, but let's yeah. I can be technically employed and have 0 hours.
Yes, I'm gonna be sick for the next 2 weeks, so you might as well get my shifts covered now.
I feel a case of mono coming on.
Yes, it was so bad. It was the worst. I remember just being so insanely... There were days where they'd keep me... Oh, that was the other thing, too, was that all the managers had a different idea of, like, what time your shift ending meant. So, like, if I'm supposed to be out of there at 4, some of the managers would be like, no, you cannot stay clocked in after 4. And some of the managers would be like, no, your shift ends at 4 when the next person then comes in, but you then still have to, like, make sure your aisles are all straight one last time. So some days I would leave, like, almost an hour after my shift ended. I was like, guys, I don't drive. Like, someone's picking me up. I can't just tell them I get off at 4 and then not walk out the door till 5. Like, I'm not doing this unless I'm on the clock. Yeah, I've had multiple jobs like that where it's just like nobody talks to anybody or has any sort of concept of, like, consistency. So I hope, no, I don't hope, I know it'll be good. Your new job, they're not gonna have lied to you about what your duties are. You're just gonna, wow, is this like real History Channel footage of war stuff? That's the first time I saw, like, real people footage.
Oh yeah, they've been throwing in.
I've been, like, rambling and scrolling through chat. I haven't noticed that it was not just, like, CG.
Yeah, they've been using archive footage between every mission.
Now, Dan, as a data backup, like, would you have, or, like, is that something you could do? Like, would you archive like, could that have been a job with your skill set? You could work for, like, the History Channel archiving their footage?
That wouldn't be within my current job title, but that is something that I've done that before. And yeah, so, like, yeah, I could do that. Like, logging archive footage is... Actually, it was because I had experience doing that Phil was like, hey... Yeah, that Phil is like, hey, it's basically like this other stuff, you know, that you've already done, so...
So just, like, get on it, Dan.
Yeah, I mean... Also, I was super hyped because that one, he is like, well, how are we shooting the movie? And he's like, we're gonna be doing 2 camera and we're going to be shooting the whole thing raw. I'm like, really? So I was actually like super excited to put into practice a whole bunch of theoretical knowledge that I had about raw workflows. Because I had been prepped, because it was like, oh man, I can't wait to work on something where we can justify shooting raw for the whole thing. And so I had spent, like, I had done a bunch of testing on my own, and to make sure like that I could handle it and just get used to the workflows, and also because I was, you know, I like knowing things. You may have noticed that about me, is I will
Really?
look stuff up purely because. So yeah, so they were shooting the whole thing raw, and obviously I was just hyped to work on it. The director producer, Spencer Estabrooks, I'd actually worked with him before on like one of his first shorts back in 08.
Wow. This is like some old school relationshiping. That's some networking. Dan just doing that networking.
Yeah, so but archiving footage, that's gonna be, I mean, well, it would be footage archivist. Or also like that's the kind of thing that like assistant editor. And I've done that before. Like I've done assistant editor, I've done footage archival, I've done tape logging and stuff like that. You know, people have one of the companies that, or one of the organizations that I worked for, we had tons and tons and tons of stuff still on VHS, and this was, 2009, and it's like, hey, so we need to get this stuff off these tapes, or we're never going to see it again. And they're like, huh, that's a good point. So yeah, I wound up spending like 2 weeks just archiving VHS tapes. I am not following orders.
We have a comment from Sola Madhu, who says we all subscribe to Folding Ideas because we like knowing things. Which I agree with. I also think I like knowing things. It should be like a new t-shirt for Folding Ideas.
I never got around to actually talking about like the job duties as a...
Yeah, like what? So talk a little more officially. You started to...
So the job title in this case is digital loader. Like so my, like, when this goes to air, and if you're looking in the end credits, it'll be, my name will be there as digital loader.
That's awesome.
That is kind of cool. Like, this is actually going to be
your name's going to be on TV.
It's going to be on TV.
It's not like Netflix TV, like broadcast
TV.
television.
Like, you could tune in at a time of day specifically, and it would, and then after it goes by, like another program is going to just start playing, and you have no control over it. It's temporally locked. Weird. But yeah, so the what was I saying? So digital loader, so in this case it's purely managing the cards, as so all of the cameras that we're shooting on are file based, so they all shoot onto data cards, either CFast or SD or micro SD. I think we've got one camera that uses CF, but I don't know how much we're going to be using that one. And yeah, so the data cards come from camera, and they're labeled with like a roll number, and I am responsible for taking those cards and backing them up properly onto hard drives, and making sure that they have been properly tracked, and that So one of the main kind of things that makes it touchy is the data integrity side of things. So you need to run a checksum on all of the data and then provide those numbers or those they're actually a hash. So you provide the checksum hash to the post-production people in New York, so that when they get the footage, they can compare what they've got to your checksum and make sure that it checks out. Did that make any sense at all?
Thrilling. No, it totally did.
It is actually kind of really boring. Like it's really boring and really stressful because you're dealing with like very, very large amounts of expensive data.
Right.
That it's like if you screw up, like if you delete a card before it's being backed up, like you've just erased everybody's work.
It seems like it's really stressful in the same way that like shooting weddings is stressful, because it's like hopefully for these people this is a once thing, and so if you miss a moment or something gets deleted, you're screwing people out of these memories. I remember my
okay,
mom,
so there's a couple.
Oh, no, go ahead.
There's a couple questions. So yeah, simple MD5 hashes. We usually just use MD5. It's the standard around these parts. Though if you do use a non-standard hash, you just need to kind of tell people what the hash is, or like label your checksum files appropriately. Yeah. What do you do if there's a checksum error? So if there's a checksum error on my end, like if my footage on the archive hard or on my hard drives and the card, if those don't agree, I redo the transfer. If there's a discrepancy between my checksums and what New York gets, then it's probably because the thing is the error is going to come in during transmission. So basically everybody just checks versus whatever I give them. So there's this underlying assumption that I have done my job right. And yeah.
That's a lot of responsibility to have.
There is, and I have run into situations where like, okay, well, what do you do if you've got a corrupt card? What do you do if, what do you do if something goes wrong? Or if there's like anomalies in the footage, and I've had to go and run out and just ask people, like actually just on the commercial that I shot last week, like last Wednesday's gig, there was a moment where like I got a card and I immediately, like I plugged it in, I started the transfer, and then I took one look at it and I immediately ran out and like flagged someone down because it was anomalous. Like I just needed to double check with someone. It was like I got the card and there was just one file on the card. So It's like, hey, is this right? Is this a short roll? Did you just run, like, is there only supposed to be one clip on this card? And they're like, yeah, we just sent the drone up once, and then and it just ran and then came down. It was they decided they wanted one more take after they had offloaded the card. So yeah, and it's like, okay,
that's
good.
Crazy.
I just needed to check.
I just gotta make sure.
Yeah, because you've got, so there's kind of this like really broad knowledge base that you need to have to be good at, because you need to be able to recognize anomalies like that. You need to kind of know how things go on set so that you can look at a card and be like, there's only one clip on here. Is that what's supposed to be here? Like I should ask someone about that. Stuff like that. And then you also need to know a lot about post-production so that you know what like they're expecting. Like, okay, do you need me to do any format management? Like, do you do you need me to provide you with the checksums? Like, because I do them. Do you need them? And in this case, they're like, yeah, we need them. A lot of times people are just like, nah, because a lot of times what's usually happening is I'm physically handing them the hard drive that they're going to be like using.
Right.
So I create my master and my backup, and then the backup they put into their like safe or fire vault or just a separate location or whatever they need for insurance reasons, and then they just take the masters and they send those to post-production, and then post-production uses those to relink during finishing. And so in those cases, like they don't ever look at the checksums because they have my copies. Like it hasn't been retransferred anywhere since I initially transferred it. But in this case, because it is going through this whole like delivery pipeline from like they're not shipping the hard drives down to LA or out to New York, they do need those hashes.
You need all them things. So, we had a question earlier, and it was only partly facetious. How do you properly name a file?
So it depends. Oh, well, that depends. Like what kind of file are we talking about? So in these cases with like camera original footage, you're not actually going to be renaming files very often. So it'll be mostly in your folder structures is where you need to get things right. But if you're renaming a file, or if you've got like say you've got exports that need to that you're handing off to a client, and I'm gonna shoot this guy, and then I'm just gonna pull up an example. What do you mean I'm not? Oh, we're like doing a creeping retreat. What are we doing?
Whoa, what?
I have no idea. I'm just gonna pause for a second and pull up an actual example that I can just read off.
That sounds really exciting.
Yeah, it's gonna be.
I'm really excited for this, you guys. I hope everybody else is excited.
I hope you're all just like super thrilled.
Well, why don't you talk about your you can talk about your documentary example, how you were changing how you were kind of tagging and organizing shots and data and stuff also.
Oh, so that was different. That was like a different way. Like that was a new approach to logging footage in Premiere versus what I normally do. So how I normally end up doing things in Premiere is I'll just like particularly for like folding ideas, I don't end up actually like logging anything because I'm only dealing with like a handful of files. So I'll just leave them as like whatever the camera spits out. So like, C001 A002 dot
whatever.
MOV. Yeah. So that's normally what I'll do there, because it's like, all right, well, there's not that many, so I'll just put them, like, make sure that they're in the right bins, and then it's like, okay, if there's only if there's only 3 clips, then it's really easy to keep them straight, like which one's which. But for Expo, just because of the like sheer volume of everything, I wound up putting a lot more time. It took forever.
Well, you didn't want to forget like what B-roll was too and things like that.
Yeah, so I didn't rename the files, but inside Premiere I went and logged everything and changed its name in the program to basically a like tag cloud. So you would end up with like Camila Derico interview booth, cosplay, comics, artist, industry, technology, whatever, like basically just a tag cloud for all of the stuff that we talked about, so that as I'm going through and I'm in each like segment, as I'm cutting each segment, I can just type that into the search bar, and then all of the clips that I've tagged with that subject will come up. And,
okay, so that's different than what your actual job is as far as naming files.
Yeah, that's more of that's an assistant editor kind of thing. So I have had to do that before in other contexts, but this specific like method of doing it was different to me. So like actually changing the names, because normally I would do it in a different field, like I'd do it in like the data tag or the description or the comments or the tags field, and so it was just a different like way of organizing it, because then this way, because they end up with all of the names, and if you have a proper sort of hierarchy within the names, then you can still sort stuff alphabetically and have it be useful and readable. So like you can just type in, or like you don't need to type in like everything. So it'd be like interview subject name first, so that all of the things with a given person end up showing up together, and then if you signify if it's like B-roll or interview right after that. So Camila D'Erico B-roll, Camila D'Erico interview, and so both of Camila's clips are going to end up right next to each other alphabetically. And I can tell right away which one's which, because it's the first two tags, and then all of the other stuff gets pushed further and further as it's kind of less and less important to identify at a glance. Oh, these are my guys.
Get those guys.
Yeah. And then yeah. Yeah. I'm just trying to pull up something. Nope. Nope. Where the heck is this stuff? Where did I put it? Oh, it's over in this folder. So here's one. So one of these. Oh, I was looking away and apparently I failed at something. So one of the projects that I've been working on for a while now, and like, so I was working at Folkfest, or I was working for Folkfest. So we've been doing these this project called Folk in the Field, and so here's one of our intermediate deliverables to the client. So folk in the field _ Jen Grant _ 2016 _ 06 _ 30 _ Dano _ V04.mp4. So project name, subject name, date, editor, version.
So now what is then, yeah, like, so what's like a Mad Libs, this is how you name a thing that like other people could use?
There's a really great humorous video out there called Gist, GYST.
Okay.
Get your shit together. That is the gist method of file naming, and they make fun, like they straight up make fun of the fact that it's like, hey, I'm looking for this, I'm looking for the template. Where is it? It's like, oh, it's called cat _ version 4 _ final _ final _ this time for real _ actual _ 01. Or no, it's like untitled, and then like all of those things, you know, just making fun of like really, really bad sequential file naming.
Is the Get Your Shit Together thing a series, or like is it there's one video?
They've probably got like 2 or 3 videos in the series at this point, but there's like one in particular that I could look up.
Is it on Vimeo?
They probably have a Vimeo version of it. I wouldn't be surprised.
Okay, let me see. Let me check it out. I will find it and link it for everybody.
So yeah, they've got a specific system that they use, but basically the principle is that it's like have a system and stick with it, and like actually have things properly, with like the relevant information. It basically comes down to making sure that you have not way too much information, but definitely having more information is better than having less, so that you can actually find files. Like, you should be able to look at a file and tell what it is, and you should never, ever, 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 ever use words like final, because it will never be final. Like, if you call something final, you can guarantee that it's not going to end up being the final version of that.
It's like when you... it's like when you think you might need a thing and you decide, no, I'll be fine without it, and you leave it at home. That's the seed that now you need the thing.
Yeah.
Or like, if you're standing at a corner waiting for the street for the rock sign to come up, and it takes forever, so you set your bags down, it's gonna change. So, all right, I'm finding get your shit together video on Vimeo. Like, it's just called Gist. So I'm gonna tap this. We're gonna see if that's it. Snort, snort.
You'll know it right away if there's a doughy guy in a beard yelling at an intern.
It looks like in the thumbnail I did see an intern. So I like that. That's cute. I usually go with chubby. It's like an affectionate term for fat. I like doughy because I love everything that's made from a dough, like bread, pastries, like pizza. All right, let's see. All right, here he is. Project folder structure, project naming conventions, After Effects folder script. Okay, here we go. All right, I'm linking this video. I haven't watched it, but here you go, chat. Solamadu says my audio is cutting in and out.
You got really robot-y. You turned into a robot while you were loading the video. No, it's fine now. It was it was clearly while the video was loading.
Okay, yeah, my computer. When I'm doing just the stream chats, I generally am on my Chromebook, which, as you may know, just can handle exactly 0 shit at one time. So having a Google Hangout live chat and also watching the live game stream is just literally like it's the exact threshold of what the computer can handle at one time.
By securing this island, he would have a foot in the door to invade the largest island of Luzon.
Wow, everybody's commenting on my auto-tune voice. T-Pain, T-Crystal, it's me.
American troops would be able to cut supply and communication.
So, right, I was going to be talking about file naming. One of the things that's kind of important in these bigger productions is actually like you don't rename camera original footage, because you're almost certainly going to end up dealing with a proxy workflow. So now this is kind of a thing. So if you're doing a like corporate shoot, you probably do want to rename all of your footage. Like, you're going to log it at the file name, because it's like, all right, there's less to deal with, and it's kind of, I don't want to say less important, but your workflow is going to be far more simplified. But in these big collaborative environments, you're not going to do that. And there's a good chance that things are going to be going through a proxy workflow where like people are not actually going to be editing with the camera original footage. They're going to be generating proxy files like either lower res or lower quality versions of the camera original footage, and then they're going to be using those to edit, and then relinking them back to the originals when it comes time to do finishing. And in that case, you don't want to rename anything because you need the names, or if you do, you need to do it before any proxies get generated, because you need the proxies and the camera original footage to match. Like, their file names need to match. Otherwise, it makes relinking a total nightmare. Like, just unbearable. It would take forever to relink everything.
Unbearable nightmare, got it. Alright. Guys, we've been talking a lot about naming files this evening. I'm gonna take a break from that topic for us to talk about your homework. Who watched any of the phenomenal animated films, which we named last time, which were a handful of some
Don
good classic Don Bluth, and then also the forgotten Disney film, The Black Cauldron, or rather, the lesser-known Disney film with the forgotten Disney princess, The Black Cauldron. I don't know. I feel like if
Crystal, you can't just say the forgotten Disney princess. What's her name? I want to see if you can say it.
Oh my! I can, but I have to look at it to say it.
No. Give it a try. I want you to just give it a try.
No, I can't just
give it a try. Come on.
No.
What's that Welsh?
Okay, that Welsh. It's
I have no idea why I failed.
Oh, is it? Do you pronounce the L's like L's in Welsh? I can't remember. You do, because Llewellyn is Welsh, and that's an actual pronunciation.
Just try it. Just try it. Just try it.
It's wait, A-E-I-A, it's Aeoni? I can't fucking say it.
Eleonwy.
A what?
Eleonwy.
A lion? There's no I. I'm gonna look this up. I'm gonna
Hello,
say
my name is Princess Eleonwy.
I'm good at my British Isles and like Celtic Gaelic and shit, so I'm gonna get this pulled up here. We're gonna have a talk. Alright, where are you at? How do you... There we go. Alright, that's... I spelled it.
Yeah, it's basically like a lie ennui. Now, I am almost certain like there's going to be subtleties in there.
The I is before the L, and it says that it is Islandwy, like Islandwy.
Islandwy. Princess.
I'm pulling up this actual
Princess
pronunciation.
Elanwy. Princess Elanwy. Princess Elanwy. Princess Elanwy. Princess Elanwy. Elanwy. Princess Elanwy. Elanwy. You know what? Yeah, you're right. I went back into the pronunciation that I had in my head when I was reading the Prydain books as a kid. Princess. Because I read all of the books before I ever saw the movie.
For like 5 chapters of Harry Potter, I kept saying, and my mind would not stop pronouncing it, Hermione.
Oh, yeah.
So I was like, no, that's wrong. I know this name. So I went and I was like,
I actually did not. It wasn't until like the movie came out. It's like, hi, I'm Hermione. I'm like, oh, okay, there we go.
You're like,
question
that makes
answered.
A lot more sense. All right, please hold on. I'm listening.
I think I had like Hermione in my head at one point, which I guess is kind of not that far off. That's how they say it in the movie.
Yeah, that is right. But in my head, I was thinking it was Hermione.
Hermione?
It's Hermione? So, like, I thought
No, it's Hermione.
It is Hermione. But then I was like, no, that's wrong.
I'm like, Hermione,
so
yeah. I know my brain went with Hermione at one point, but it was like, no, that's too wrong. Like, that does not sound like a human name. That sounds like a pharmaceutical product.
Hermione, new sponsor of Dan's channel.
Yeah. So, but yeah, no, I did not know the pronunciation of that name until the movies came out. I do have a habit of adding vowel syllables where there are none, or where there aren't supposed to be. But I feel like that's a very common thing that people do.
So I'm looking up the pronunciation I found of Eilonwy is a modern. In Welsh, the EI would make an A sound, so it would be Eilonwy. So there's still no, the I is still before the L, so it's not Eilonwy, but it is A. If we go with the original Welsh, which it is Welsh, as far as I can remember. Like, yeah, right?
Yeah.
So it would be Eilonwy. Eilonwy.
Now I want to pull up the movie and see what she says. Like, how does the voice actor introduce herself in the movie? Because it's like her first line when she meets Taryn.
Do we have anyone in chat who speaks Welsh or is from somewhere in the UK that isn't England? Do we have anyone from like Scotland, Ireland, Wales?
Eilonwy.
Well, someone said Welsh, which is almost Elvish.
I feel like I have almost nothing to actually say about this game because I have done everything that this game is asking so many times in previous games. Like, this is like the 8,000th time I've gotten a mission objective to stop the bonsai charges. It's like, yeah.
Okay, so Eilonwy. All right, let's go back to
Eilonwy.
This all Eilonwy started because you all had homework. I got one.
If somebody had done their homework, that they would have remembered.
I couldn't rewatch all of them just for me. The option was to watch one of the many, so that we could chat about them. Sidetrack for something actually about the game. Shero Jack says, what year did this game come out?
2007.
2007, guys.
The hot must-have content of 2007. Which means, oh man, I should have looked this up. All right, let me real quick. Where is that timeline? 2000. That means this was the same year as Modern Warfare, so the year after Call of Duty 3. So
it would have had to have been in production before that. So it's not, I don't know, actually. That's not true, because this one is only like 2 hours long, right?
Like, we are almost done.
So they could have, like, saw how popular that was becoming and immediately been like, guys, let's get the History Channel on this, and rolled it out.
I really, really liked it earlier when I said that this is like if Call of Duty were still bad but was easy, and someone got really defensive about that. I hate to break it to you. Yeah, there's like Call of Duty. It's like, no, you're thinking Medal of Honor. I'm like, no. I did not speak. I did not misspeak. I did not stutter.
Somebody said, a couple of different people are saying, could you imagine if you got this game for Christmas instead of
Call of Duty? Oh, man.
Like, I got you a much more educational Call of Duty, little Jimmy.
It's like Call of Duty, but this one will teach you. And it's just like, no, it won't.
I love...
This is about as historically instructive as actual Call of Duty games, which is to say not at all.
I love when people try to make a, quote, educational version of, like, something that is popular, as if that is, like, a good idea. Like taking something
it's like the Christian rock version of popular songs.
Yeah, it's like,
you know, it's like, oh, we're gonna make pop music, but it'll save your soul. It's like, will it?
I have less of a problem with, like, original music, but with Christian lyrics than I would
than
with,
the
like,
stuff that's like a clear knockoff,
or like, yeah, a clear ripoff of something. Like, it's like if someone tried to make, like, Pokemon Go, except it teaches you something. Like,
Pokemon Go, except the Pokemon are replaced with Bible verses. And it's like, I don't know, guys, I feel like you're missing one of the core appeals here of, like, cute monsters.
Yes.
Like, this isn't just about, like, the compulsion of going out and get it. Like, there is more to this than you seem to appreciate. Yeah.
Yes. Like, there's so much... There's plenty to be said for educational content and educational games and educational kinds of things, but they need to be also, like, they need to already be crafted for that purpose. You can make education interesting or fun, or, you know, have some of the elements of other games, like collection and those sorts of things, but they can't be a straight ripoff, because you're missing the point of the original. Like Pokemon Go without Pokemon, with something else in its place, would not have the same appeal, even if Pokemon wasn't popular. Like,
you mean like Garfield Go, which I have yet to install, ironically.
No. So, but my point is...
No, it's like a perfect example of that. It is a straight ripoff of Pokemon Go, just with Garfield and lasagna.
That's true. So, but the point is, though, that, like, Pokemon Go was created as a whole with, like, all... This is a really good example, actually, of, you know, something you've been talking a bit about, you know, going through, like, ludonarrative dissonance and, like, do the mechanics of the game, you know, work as a whole complete, like, trying to approach games as a whole complete text instead of, like, two disparate parts of, like, gameplay and story. Like, you should be able to look at both, but you should also be able to look at it as a whole complete thing. It's kind of that same concept of, like, so Pokemon Go, we're going to keep going with the damn example.
Sorry, yeah, no, it's a good example, because they wanted an AR game, and, you know, Niantic already had Ingress.
Right.
And it was like, well, what would make a good AR game? And it's like, well, Pokemon hunting. Like, if you could go out, because in the mainline Pokemon games, it's like, all right, you wander around a simulated world and you catch Pokemon just out in, like, the long grass behind your house. And so carrying that over into an AR game where it's like, oh, you actually go out in your city, and it's like, it's basically just like, what if Pokemon were real and you did catch them in the real world the same way that you catch them in the game? Like, they just live in the long grass out behind your house. And so it meshes just really well.
It's also, but like, so using that example then though, is why we should be able to look at games and have to look at games as a complete text, because looking at why any knockoffs of Pokemon Go wouldn't work is the same reason why you have to look at something as a complete text, because Pokemon Go isn't just, oh, you go out with this AR thing on your phone and catch X thing, and it's every piece of it works together to create something that became some huge phenomenon. I mean, I loved that 1 month where like everybody was playing it. It was a lot of fun.
Oh man, like just the so with the legendary event that's been going on for the last 2 weeks, like just yesterday, you know, we were running around after family dinner. It was like we checked out Raid Finder and it was like, oh, there's a couple legendaries just like a few blocks away from us. And so we went and like there was a whole bunch. It's like, all right, well, look for the like cluster of people hanging out. That'll tell us where it is, because
wherever it is. Yeah. So like, trying to take something again like Pokemon Go and trying to make like an educational version of it, whether it's Bible verses or like spots where something historical happened or something or whatever, is not, you have to create a new thing that services that goal. You can't just like shove it in and think that it's still all gonna work the same and have the same appeal, because it's not. Like people won't do that.
So this actually brings up something. So Mike Rugnetta and I were talking about this in emails a couple days ago. This isn't private stuff. This was just a conversation that we were having about like the praxis and pedagogy of online video. So I had that thread last week about like faces on videos, and like the whole thing, like basically someone was asking me to clarify like kind of what I meant and like if there was any additional reading, and I pointed out like the McGurk effect, and you know that we all lip read to some degree, and so having having a face on camera helps with communicating complex ideas, because people are able to better understand what's being said because they can lip read.
Right.
And so there's less a chance for them to like mishear, and like there's less of a it reduces the likelihood that you're going to end up in a situation where someone's like, wait, what did they, what words, what and yeah, so we were having this conversation, and then he and I got into a conversation in email about, you know, and this is a thing we've talked about a whole bunch actually at like VidCon and stuff like that, about the sort of praxis and pedagogy of what we're doing versus like what we jokingly refer to as like real education, you know, like classroom, like people who are like dedicated educators and who have a syllabus, they have a course list, they have a well-defined goal, versus ours, like, and I'll straight up admit that, like, you know, and Mike would admit this as well, that like our YouTube shows, they do end up steering entertainment words, because we're basically saying like that education is entertaining is sort of our underlying idea. We're not coming at this with like, okay, so here's the ideas that I'm going to cover over the next 6 months, and here's how I have broken them up, and here's the additional reading that goes with each one of them, and they all form a like much larger coherent whole. It's more like, okay, you know, Mike does this too, where it's like, all right, I have this giant document of ideas that I think are rad and I want to talk about, and at some point I will get around to making a video or 2 or 3 on those ideas. And yeah. Like, so it's much more kind of haphazard, and it's like it's still educational in the sense that like our goal is education, but it's also just entertainment because it's.
You guys are maybe sort of the, and I'm not really saying this to be like pretentious or anything, but I mean it at its most base level. You guys are sort of like the philosophers gathering people around you who are interested in learning over like the structure of like people going to school.
Yeah, like it is more like a forum.
Orators and being like, hey, let's have this discussion. Here's my latest musing I've had on the creation of the universe and what do you guys think, and this is how I think it works, and what's logic. Whereas like then you also have like a different sect of people who are going to traditional education and being like, hand me down the knowledge that is 100% fact, and I want to just be told and then memorize the things. I don't, you know, like you're Socratic versus like by rote, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess I would have I guess I maybe take exception with the idea it's like, oh well, education is inherently by rote. But no, you're right. Like it is more informal. You know, it is less rigorous. Like we haven't spent, you know, so like, okay, I have done curriculum development. Like we were talking about that earlier. It's like the curriculum development that I've done, and all of that is running through like multiple levels of people who are evaluating it for a whole bunch of different things. Like they're evaluating it for like course load and how it's going to fit into a larger curriculum, and how, you know, how it's going to interlock with like what other courses on the syllabus are doing around that time, and it's going to make sure that like the course load is not tripling up to the degree that it's like, oh well, you're giving them this giant assignment in the same week as this other course is giving them this giant assignment, so maybe we need to reshuffle those. You know, it's going through a ringer for like, and it's going through a lot more rigor, and you need to have like citations and associated reading, and you need to be able to just like provide a lot more backup to everything. Whereas, yeah, like this is a lot more informal, and it is a lot more towards like a kind of like your way of putting it. It's like just, hey, here's a thing that I want to talk about today.
Yeah.
Here's a cool thing. Here's something that's rad. Here's a neat idea. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but, you know, actually, I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but one of the things that we were having a discussion about, or that I really, really kind of desperately want, is there has not been enough written about the pedagogy of edutainment.
Right.
And I think that's actually a hole. I think that's a gap that could stand to be filled, that we could, that someone should put a lot more work into. Oh, geez. Which is, sorry, I'm getting kind of turned around by the game. Oh, it wants me to blow up these things. Yeah, like just like, okay, what are the practices? What's the praxis in edutainment? How should you structure stuff when you are starting from that kind of stance of like, hey, education is entertaining, so we're going to entertain you with education. Which is personally, like, that's actually my approach. Like, so it's like, if we're going to talk about edutainment, that's my philosophy of it, is that it should be education is entertaining rather than we're going to trick you into education with entertainment.
I think that actually says something about that approach in general, is that people...
And a lot of bad edutainment, a lot of bad edutainment is like, it's like the Christian rock. It's like, oh, well, we're going to trick you into, it's like, yeah, it sounds like pop music, but it's for Jesus.
Well, part of it, so people can smell bullshit, and people
Yeah.
can tell from a mile away, especially, you know, younger kids, and then a huge, like, teenagers. They just
teenagers
can't stand
just
that
start
shit.
from the presumption that it's all.
So the minute you're like, hey, I'm gonna try to trick you into finding this educational or learning something, is immediately when they're like, fuck that.
Yeah.
No. So, but whereas something like your channel or Mike's channel, or a lot of these other things are concerned, there's no trick. There's either upfront, I want you to learn something here, but I'm going to try to describe it in a way that you find interesting. Or there's, here's something to think about. You don't need to memorize anything. You don't need to learn anything. I just want it to get your brain working. So there's, it's up front of this, you know, like Folding Ideas is all about, like, okay, here's, you know, here's something to think about. Idea channel was literally, hey, here's an idea. Like, there was no, like, stated thing at the end of it of, like, this is the correct thesis, you know, like, it's possibilities. It's just get your brain working. Or, and then you have stuff like Crash Course, which is straight up like, I'm going to teach you this, but I'm going to do it in a way that is with an interesting personality on the screen to, you know, to listen to talk, that you enjoy listening to talk. And we're going to try to do it in a way that presents it, you know, with, like, some animation and some on-screen aids, and it there's no trick involved, and that's where that annoying, like, line is when the presumption is, I'm gonna trick you into learning something with educational Pokemon Go or Christian pop music. Like, you don't need to trick, just you know, if you don't try to trick someone, they're more likely to accept that and to learn something.
All right.
So I think this game. Oh, go ahead.
I just want to check. What mission are we on? Does anyone know where we are?
Yes, chat. Help us.
Where
Help
are
us,
we?
Chat Kenobi.
Are we on? I think we're on Iwo Jima.
We'll just wait for the flag planting. Isn't that the flag planting guys?
Well, yeah, but that's
That
gonna.
monument?
I'm pretty. Okay, just looking at this, I'm pretty sure we're on Iwo Jima.
Okay. Oh, it says objectives land on Iwo Jima and create a beachhead.
Oh, wait, where
It said that on the loading screen.
Okay.
Which,
so,
remember, I'm like 10 seconds behind you, so I just saw the
right, so you were able to see that. Okay, great. So we're on the last 3 segments. So we have two more loading zones between us and the end of the game.
So what I was saying then about this game is that it does, like, that joke led us to, you know, this whole discussion about the game, but it's true that this is a game that's, like, trying to trick you into learning about the real war by giving you, like, educational Call of Duty.
I guess.
Like
I mean, you're still doing stupid, like, we're still just walking through linear corridors, following, you know, objective markers.
No, but I mean, okay, all right. If you are actually learning something aside, I think the goal of the game is to cash in on and be like, no, but we could do it better and be a learning.
It'll be more. It'll have the
more
cachet
accurate.
of being accurate because it's from the History Channel.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, it is exactly as inaccurate as, like, I honestly swear I could just mash up footage from this with footage from World at War, and the only difference that people would be able to tell is would be graphical. They'd be like, hey man, I think you're playing. You need to upgrade your PC. Like, You got it on the really crappy settings. And it'll be like, this is the PS3 version. And they'll be like, oh, okay, that makes sense. And, like, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference. Like, literally the only thing in this that we've done that wasn't in World at War, like, in terms of abstract actions, is we haven't, in this game, used a flamethrower to burn people alive.
It's true, we haven't. I haven't seen that happen.
Because I'm pretty sure that this game is incapable of rendering fire. But, like, aside from that, like, it's the... Yeah. It's the same. Call of Duty's bad. Don't play them. The games are bad. I've played way too many of them, and I've played them for way too long. And it turns out the series was never actually good. It occasionally got tolerable, and Call of Duty 4, Modern Warfare 1 is...
This is going to get you a lot of hate mail.
Call of Duty 4, Modern Warfare 1 is not actually a good game. It's emotionally manipulative and, like, deeply racist, and the entire thing exists to convince you that you should...
Hate tweets coming at
like,
you.
pro-American jingoism is the best. The nuke scene... The famous nuke scene in Call of Duty 4 is the entire purpose, the entire narrative structural purpose of that scene is to show you just how crazy all these scary Middle Easterners are. And people point out, it's like, yeah, but ultimately they were being manipulated by the Germans, or no, by the Russians. That it was like the Russians were orchestrating that whole thing. I'm like, that just makes it worse. Because that's just like, it's like, oh man, not only are they like scary psychopaths who will nuke themselves just to like spite the Americans, but they're not even doing it out of a sense of like authentic self-determination. They're doing it because they've been tricked by evil Whitey. As opposed to so now good Whitey needs to come in and save the day.
The Russians are evil Whitey.
Because, and this is the thing, like, this is a problem that I had with Ghosts. Is that, like, Ghosts is easily the most racist that the series ever got. But even then, Ghosts is like, oh, all the scary brown people can't even come up with their own plots. That it's like, oh, the scary brown people got together and stole America's, like, orbital destruction weapons platform. And then it turns out that it's like, oh, that wasn't even their idea in the first place. It was because of an American defector. That it's like, he's the one who's actually, like, controlling them.
Sir, I found the artillery.
And it's like, Jesus. Like, your brown villains can't even be villains in their own right.
Oh my god. I don't think I'm ever going to be able to refer to Russia as anything other than evil Whitey again. Oh, it's funny because it's true.
Yeah. Oh man, Ghosts. Somebody's like, why did America have an orbital destruction platform? Yeah. So in Ghosts, the opening of the game is that America has this satellite that has streamlined tungsten rods. Like, it's got a whole bunch of streamlined tungsten rods mounted on it. And so the idea is that if you drop something from a high enough, like, basically that if something hard enough is going fast enough, when it hits the ground, it'll basically have the impact of a nuclear weapon, just without all of the, fallout and radiation. Because it's not a nuclear experience, it's just something really heavy hitting the ground really fast. So they have this orbital weapons platform that has a whole bunch of these tungsten rods, and then the brown people. So okay, The setup is basically that the... Sorry, I need camera for this. The setup is that the oil nations all get together, and so it's like Central America and the Middle East basically form a block and shut America out of being a global superpower, and apparently, I don't know, go to war with like everybody. Yeah, they like take over a bunch of America or something. And so America has this orbital weapons platform, and the oil nations capture it, and this is treated as bad because that was America's toy. It's like, oh no, it's horrifying when other countries have weapons of mass destruction, but it's not a problem that America built it in the first place. But then, yes, at the very end, it turns out that whole plot was not, in fact, actually cooked up by anyone from within that faction. It was a defector.
Oh man.
So
look out for them defectors.
Yeah. So of course, the villain's best ideas. You know, only a fellow ghost, only a fellow American could get the upper hand of the American military.
Evil Whitey, man. Look out. Okay. Dan.
My grenades keep bouncing off of these tents. I just want to... there's like 6 guys, and I just want to use my grenades to take care of them all at once.
But you can't, though.
But
you're not allowed.
They keep bouncing.
You can't do it. It's not gonna happen.
All right.
It's not okay.
This should be a loading zone.
Oh, does that mean
we're gonna go into?
I'm
betting we're gonna go into the tunnels. No, so this will be Iwo Jima 2. I'm willing to bet. Iwo Jima 2, you're in the caves. You'll need to secure the entrance area. Yeah. And then Iwo Jima, yeah. The rest of this is going to play out kind of exactly like you would assume it would if you've seen either Flags of Our Fathers or Letters from Iwo Jima.
I have not actually seen either of those. Are they good? There you go. That's something we can talk about. War films.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on war films? Are all war films propaganda, Dan?
To a certain degree.
Talk about war in film.
War in film is complicated because war is by the standards of our narrative structures exciting and dramatic and entertaining. And so it is very difficult to make a war film that does not glorify war or at the very least villainize. It is impossible to make a war film that doesn't serve another political purpose.
So either glorify the act of war or villainize another?
Yeah. And now you can try to make the political purpose anti-war, but that's really, really, really absurdly difficult without making a movie that audiences will in turn find deeply unsatisfying. Now, I do have some caveats to this.
Yeah.
I think Letters from Iwo Jima does a decent job of being a not American propaganda war film by being a Japanese propaganda war film. Okay. Like basically, that basically only by kind of taking things out of the
Westerners are the heroes.
The Westerners are the heroes is sort of the only way that you can actually do that. But then at the same time, like in doing that, you are at the end of the day simply serving another mythopoetic narrative.
Right. Right.
You know, like, and Japan definitely has a like touchy relationship with their role in World War II, because you know they were aggressors, but they got nuked.
Yeah.
And that puts them in a very weird place identity-wise. And compared to Germany, like, Japan really hasn't gone through the same level of, like, coping with the war and coping with the wartime identity that Germany did. Because the moment that they got nuked and then nuked again, that became the defining story of Japan in the war.
Right. I mean, it's kind of hard for that not to be the case.
Yeah, because it is such a dramatic thing, but it means that things like, you know, the rape of Nanking have never been addressed.
Right.
Like truly in the same way. Like, if you look at the way that Germany went through the process of like denazification, like it was thorough, and it was long lasted. Like, it was decades. And did I pick up? I feel like I picked up the thing that I need to get back to the generator. And yeah, and that hasn't been the case, and yeah.
Tather says Catch-22 is anti-war by means of absurdism. I feel like Catch-22 is less anti-war as it is anti, like, bureaucratic structure of the war machine. Like,
I would agree to both, that like Catch-22 like, is anti-war, and it manages to be anti-war by being first anarchic, like that it is anti-authority first.
Right.
It is saying that it's like, you know, it says in many ways that it's like, okay, these bureaucratic systems, governments, like they will treat you like a resource, and they will use you for their ends, and war is just one of those ways.
Right. Like, it's not
that the machine chews you up.
Yeah, it's not specifically an only anti-war so much as it is like anti the blind following of authority, etc., that leads to just the mass.
War is ultimately just war is the natural conclusion of these systems. It is what these systems do. It is what they have been built to do. War is not an anomaly in these systems. War is a feature. Right. It's in there by design.
Exactly.
Also, weird that this game suddenly has a jumping puzzle in the dark at like the 11th hour.
They saved all of their like gimmick level mechanics for one level at the very end. They were like, let's not spread these out. Let's make it really dramatic and climactic, guys.
I mean, you could easily, honestly, get to this point in the game without realizing that this is a game that has a jump button. Because, like, you don't need to use it. I found it by accident. Because I was just like...
known. It also has, like, the most minimalist HUD I've ever seen. Especially for a war game. Like, there's no map. Until just now, I didn't even realize there was an arrow pointing to either... Is that your target or your friend?
That's my current follow thing. Like, that's whatever I'm supposed to be doing right now. That's just my objective marker. And right now, it is follow this guy.
I didn't even notice that until now. And, like, so much of this game...
Yeah, except sometimes it's not follow that guy, like the person sometimes that the target is on. No, sometimes the target will, like, they'll walk to an intersection, and then they'll wait for you to go ahead before they start moving again.
Oh. Well then.
So that's happened a few times, like basically any time in the past couple hours where I've stood there staring at a guy and like walking in circles around them, being like, "Hey, what you doing?" it's been one of those times where they walked to an intersection and you need to keep going in order to get them to start moving again.
So yeah, sort of go back to the whole war discussion. You know, like, can there, like war in film? I mean, like, so do you think there is a way to make a war film that does not glorify war while still I don't know, I feel like you're right that because of the way that Western stories construct their narratives and Western stories construct their ideas of hero, like, I think there's a way to make war films that are less glorifying, but I still think in the end a war film still has to have like a winner or a hero.
Yeah, so the closest thing that I'd say to like a recent war film that is actually anti-war and manages to communicate that, and I think this illustrates my point, is Jarhead. Because the people who love war films hate that movie. Because nothing happens.
Also, like, I find it interesting that the war that was least glorified, but still, and like known for that, is like, as far as, you know, Americans are concerned, is the Vietnam War, the Vietnam conflict, you know, because there was so much going on here, quote, at home, of like protests against the war, and like it was a war where we kind of knew like what the horrors of war meant. I find it really interesting still that like even films that may end up being about the Vietnam War still can't escape like creating some glory or some kind of heroism.
Yeah, Vietnam movies almost always end up being about soldiers and not the war.
Right.
Like, so they still rest on this narrative of like the glory of being a soldier, and maybe they get critical of like, it's like, oh well, the know-nothing politicians back home who sent them into a doomed conflict, or like didn't give them the support that they needed, or in the grosser cases with Vietnam in particular, it'll be this like, oh, the no good hippies who kept our hands tied and prevented us from doing what really needed to be done.
Right.
That it's like we could have won that war if only we hadn't been so constrained.
So it's okay. So then, do you think that in a film that's about soldiers, like about personal stories rather than about war itself, do you think it's possible to make a war film in that way that doesn't glorify war, or like somehow be like still kind of a propaganda film?
I think it's possible. I just don't think it would get made. I don't think anyone would like it, because you need to point out that like, hey, even the best soldiers have been. I mean, you really do need to go that catch-22 route, where it's like you need to kind of say that like, hey, yeah, maybe it takes a lot of courage to be a soldier, but it also means willingly turning yourself over to be used by systems that do not care about you and will throw you away, and the inherent underlying power construct is fallacious from the start.
Right.
That the entire notion is broken, and that you can't, you end up not casting soldiers as like heroes in service of a greater ideal, because you end up saying this like, no, they are at best like desperate people who were duped by a system.
Yeah.
And no one, I mean, that's why it's like Catch-22 is popular, but it's not that popular.
I read Catch-22 finally, as part of one of my favorite
classes that I took, not even because I wanted to be in the class, but I took a really interesting course at uni that was about war in literature.
Yeah.
And we read a bunch of books, novels about war.
So probably Timothy Finley's The Wars.
We read Catch-22. We read The Jarhead, the book.
Mm-hmm.
Did we read? I know that we watched it, but I can't remember if we also read the book. But we watched a couple films also and studied them as texts. It was really good. I took it because the teacher was a professor that I really admired and had a very close relationship with, and it was just happened to be one of his classes that I hadn't taken yet, and so I took it, and it qualified for my degree. So hey, why not? Because I never really had any sort of interest in like, oh, let me study like more war literature. Like that's not a thing that kind of fits in with my MO as far as lit that I appreciate. But I ended up really liking it because there were a lot of things that I didn't know about how war is portrayed before I took that class. And one of the things I found most interesting was this idea of in World War II being kind of like the last war where you were seriously not considered a man unless you went.
Mm-hmm.
Which may have been a holdover, from like you serve, it's like war has always been like that. Like war was something that could still make a young man into an adult, into a real man. War was something that was considered like this rite of passage at that time. And how that changed with wars after that, how that changed with like the Vietnam War, like how kids who refused to go or didn't want to go to Vietnam were really looked down on by a lot of their like the older men in their family, because it was like a toxic masculinity, or like a just like this completely two different worlds of like looking at what war does, like as if it's something you go through and come out the other side like as a man or as an adult.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, that was something that was very, very interesting to talk about in like in an academic way, and it made me look at a lot of things like these games and such through these other lenses of like, okay, so how is our modern society viewing war, and how are these older ideas that still exist but maybe aren't like the most popular notion, or maybe are a popular notion because that's just how they've always been, something that we talk about a lot. Things are that way because they've always been that way. So how that informs like a lot of these games and films that are about war now. So
Sorry, I got distracted by a text.
Oh, is it something important? Is it for a big fancy thing? You gonna do the thing?
It's kind of important. Yeah.
What do you think then?
Oh no, I'm not following orders. No, stand up.
Oh, don't not follow orders. That's the worst thing you could possibly do in wartime. What do you think then? So, God, when was it? Was it World War II when we first had like photojournalists like out
embedded?
there? Or was that Vietnam that was like the big? I think it was Vietnam, right?
Oh, there we go.
Where we really were getting like people for the first time were seeing like literally right from the front lines, like the fucking horrors that had to have been World War II.
Oh, geez.
I
wish I could remember this. So
broad-
I had a book that I read back in university that was all about.
The photo of 6 Marines raising the flag.
There's several actually really good books out there about the media and the war and the evolution of war in parallel with media. And
Right.
yeah, Vietnam is like the first modern information war. Korea, and to like basically, so if you go World War I, World War II, Korean War, were essentially like the evolution of and the increasing growth of reporters' access to war in the front lines. But yeah, it was Vietnam where it was like,
people were like,
hey,
holy shit.
we're going to take a reporter and we're going to put them in a flak jacket and give them a helmet, and they're going to go out there right alongside our boys, and that's going to show everybody. And yeah, that wound up not having the impact that they thought it was going to.
If photojournalism, if that sort of biographical, like, look at the horrors of these sorts of things can end up turning a movement, can end up coming home and making people anti-war. What do you think the difference is then between that realization, those images, and film, if you think that a film can't, like, exist on its own as, like, a non-glorification?
Well, and this goes back to...
because there has to be, like, a literal, like, 2-hour narrative, because it has to be, like, wrapped up? Like, what's...
It goes back to the systems that these things are created within. Like, it's not so much I mean, part of it is, yes, the demands of narrative, but it's the demands of narrative within the context of a commercial film production system. That the people who make movies, like that ultimately make them, the producers, the money holders, are looking for a saleable product.
Right.
And that incentive set is what is ultimately going to be the limiter. That it's not that, like, in a hypothetical sense, can you create a anti-war war film? Yes, absolutely. Can you, in the practical sense, get a big budget, proper war film that is anti-war through the mechanisms that create movies? And the answer to that is maybe.
Probably not, or no.
Probably not. No. So, like, that's... Yeah. That's kind of what's going on there. Also, we're done.
That makes
we
sense.
planted
We
the
did
flag
it,
on
you
Iwo.
guys.
We planted the flag on Iwo Jima.
I saw the famous picture. Well, look at these credits. Mises for keeping me in a good mood. Motorhead for inspiration and power.
Oh yeah, those are all
It's
there. Like special
person
thanks.
wrote
All the special thanks.
No, because that one said my lovely wife or something like that. It's like one person wrote the whole, like, did the whole. It's like one man made the whole game. All right, Dan, quiz time. What have you learned since playing the game?
I learned that America went to an island and planted a flag after shooting a bunch of people in caves.
Oh, we did. Oh, you did. Good job. That's you learned everything that you needed to learn. That is correct.
I mean, I think, okay, so, like, the real problem here is that I already know far more about the subject matter than than is contained inside of the game.
Oh, right, because at that one point you were
wait,
watching
just a sec.
History series? Okay.
No, I got it. Okay. Call of Juarez Gunslinger, recommended because you played games tagged with action, comedy. What the hell? What the hell is this Okay, so Call of Juarez the Cartel is one of the grossest games that I've ever played. And we're not going to stream it for that reason.
Gross in what sense?
Morally repugnant.
Kind of gross. Oh, okay, all right.
Like it's propaganda.
Like actually, or like no? Okay, all right. Continue.
It's basically so. Extra Credits did a video about this specific aspect of the game, and I essentially agree with like 95% of what they say. So, but it has forever actually like associated the Call of Juarez series negatively with me. So seeing one that's like, hey, recommended, I'm just kind of like, my gut reaction is like, screw you, go to hell. So just that knee-jerk reaction.
All right, so continue. You were saying I was saying rather that I know that you know too much about this because you at one point were obsessed with watching that one like really in-depth documentary series thing. What was that you were like? It was like a year's worth, like something that happened. Or no, was it the Great War? What was?
Oh, there's a great YouTube channel called The Great War, but but that's all about World War One.
And was that the one that you were learning about, that they had like the dogs, and then you were like really upset about the dogs?
Okay, I've got I have an interesting story about that. Yeah, all right. So they've got an episode that's about service animals in the war, and one of them is that they mention is mercy dogs, who had. They were basically like your stereotypical like Alpine dang it, what's that dog? The really big fluffy dog. Saint Bernard, like a Saint Bernard. It's like basically like you figure the
big fluffy dog.
But so it's like, okay, so these mercy dogs, like they had a pack, on their collar that had medical supplies in it. And they were trained to seek out the wounded, and so that wounded soldiers could, self-treat with the medical supplies if they were capable of. But they were also trained, and excuse me if I just start bawling here. Okay, no. So here's the thing. So these mercy dogs were trained to find the injured and dying. And they had medical supplies on them if the soldier was capable of caring for themselves. And if they weren't, the dogs were trained to keep the dying company.
To just, like, sit with them?
Just sit with them.
Like, if they like, so assuming let's just assume that the training was, like, if the person can't open the pack you have, like, if they never go in the pack, then you just stay.
Yeah.
Okay, so you were saying you had an interesting story about that.
Okay, so this episode it's really good, but it's really kind of heartbreaking. And so but now Indy Nidell, the host, actually like left me a comment like a month and a half ago, just on one of my videos. Yeah, so it was pretty cool. So he was like, "Hey man, you got really good content. Like this is really good stuff. Keep making more of it." And so we got into just a short comment in the comments where I was like, "Hey, like I really like the Great War channel. Like I'm still behind because I don't think I'll ever be able to catch up. Like I started watching them like a year after they had started, and they put out so much that it's like really hard to catch up."
Didn't you start binging it or something when you were sick or something like that?
I did. I had.
Yeah, okay, that's what it was. I remember this whole like beginning of the input, like the beginning of this. So you were saying.
But anyway, so I just mentioned like, hey, this episode in particular, like I keep going back and rewatching it, and I bawl every time, and he then responded with, it's like, you know what? That is the one episode. Like, that's the one video that gets so consistently and routinely mentioned.
Is that one that makes you upset?
What, sorry? This one about the animals, like he, so he responded to just like, that's one that people always mention. Like, it's the one that seems to have just stuck with people. And I'm like, yeah, like it's resonating. Like, and it does kind of sound, I mean, it's because it is because of the animals. It is because it is about animals, and that it's like, okay, we're yes, all of the stories about people and the awful things that happen to them are sad, but the things that happen to the animals, it's like they are blameless. Like, the horses and the dogs that are in war are there 100% because we put them there.
Right.
So like that makes it just so much more potent.
Poor puppies. I love dogs. I remember you telling me about this and being like really upset about it. Didn't you also then like go find like another documentary or something about them, or you found like an article or something?
I found an article. I found basically some more stuff talking about the idea of mercy dogs. Also, oh yeah, that was the other thing. There's a game, Valiant Hearts. One of the missions one of the characters in Valiant Hearts is a mercy dog. And so you have to work your way through the level delivering medical supplies to wounded soldiers.
This is why, okay, so this is actually a really good example of how hard it is to make like a non-propaganda war film. Is like, no one's gonna make the movie about those dogs or have those dogs in their movie, because no one is gonna want to be the one that's like, and then we train these dogs to we know that most of those dogs wouldn't have made it out of there. You're not going to show the enemy coming along and murdering fluffy St. Bernards who are sitting with wounded soldiers. Like, no one's going to put that. They're not going to be the war movie that killed the puppies. Do you know? Mm-hmm. Like, these are the stories that, like something like that has to belong to edutainment, because it doesn't have any bearing on the historical outcome of the war, so it's not going to be taught in a normal history class, but it's a really resonant story and a really beautiful and interesting story that does lend itself to still wanting to be taught and talked about. So there you go. Full circle. That's why we need edutainment. That's why you can't make a war film that isn't propaganda. We've wrapped up all of our topics with one story about big fluffy puppies, which I think is the best way to wrap up any story. All right, Dan, you're getting lots of questions.
I am seeing if there's any active multiplayer games.
I think you need to whip it out. Just whip it out on the channel, Dan. Just show everybody your big dream daddy.
That was going. I was I was like, is she actually going to just wait? Where is this going? Is she actually gonna say it? Like, I was expecting the misdirect, but as it got longer and longer, I was like, this isn't a misdirect. She's not gonna say Dream Daddy. She's gonna say, is she actually just gonna say? And then you said Dream Daddy. I'm like, oh, okay. I have no idea why. I mean, does anybody else have Battle for the Pacific? Can we make a game? I can create a capture the flag. Holy crap!
Dan.
Holy,
What,
oh
is
my
someone
god! Oh my god!
Did something come up?
The History Channel Battle for the Pacific game has multiplayer that is deathmatch, team deathmatch, capture the flag, elimination, and team elimination. Like, what? What? Sweet Jesus.
Oh god, Dan, please stop dying on us. This is unacceptable.
All right. If you've got History Channel Battle for the Pacific, I've created a capture the flag game. You can jump on in. The servers are active.
Dan.
Just give me a second. I just wanna see.
No
Okay, I have 3 skins to choose from. Am I U.S. Soldier 1, U.S. Soldier 2, or U.S. Officer?
Officer.
Officer K.
Be part of the war machine, Dan. Give in.
This game requires at least 1 players on each team. Oh. All right, somebody join. Somebody join. I'm gonna go get a drink. This is gonna be our short.
Says, my grandfather got a Medal of Honor for surviving Team Deathmatch. Which is funny because absurdism.
The fact that
not in any way funny because of actual soldiers who have served and gotten that medal.
Yeah,
but still.
just the absurdism of, like, okay, we all know that the History Channel is actually trash, but it postures itself. It postures itself as educational. So the fact that this just has, like, team deathmatch is somehow it's just that little bit more offensive than in any other game. Like, Call of Duty is published by Activision. Like, of course they're garbage. They're capitalists. Like, they're not even ashamed of it. But the History Channel?
Come on, guys. We believed in you.
Think more about the idea of non-team deathmatch in a historical game. Like, yeah, I mean, it is war, so I guess team deathmatch is basically just, war. It kind of already is team deathmatch.
But, like, okay, but this is going back to the whole, like, tricking you into like, that team deathmatch sounds like the mode that they put in that's like, yeah, then we're gonna put in this team deathmatch mode. And while they play that, this will be just like that Call of Duty games where everybody likes to play those online. So we're going to give them this so that they'll play the game and learn it. Like, nope.
Yeah.
No, don't do that.
All right, I'm going to screen cap this for our, like, mid-stream Twitter boost. I'm going to tell if... All right, I'm going to compose a tweet, then I'm going to go get my... I'm going to go refill my drink.
Okay.
That's...
So are you... did you do the tweet?
I am composing the tweet right now.
Did you do the tweeting? Did you tweet the tweets?
I haven't tweeted the tweet yet. Hey, if you've got History Channel Battle for the Pacific, we're in the lobby for, what am I? Capture the flag, capture the flag. LF1M. And then attach image, screenshot. Yeah, all right. Tweeted. Okay, I'm gonna go get a drink.
Okay, bye. Okay, everybody, if you've never been with us before, now is the time where Crystal answers questions about Dan. Dan is away from the computer. We have a few seconds while he gets a refill on his beverage, and Crystal's been friends with Dan since for like over a decade. So, to ask the questions, Dan does know how to use the 3 seashells. If you don't know how to use the 3 seashells, you should Google that up. Dan is not a weapon to surpass in Metal Gear. I don't even know. No, that's just unacceptable. How big is Dan's Dream Daddy? Dan's Dream Daddy, I don't know. I feel like we don't know yet. Dan doesn't have a real. It's not true. He has the Dream Daddy cartridge. I guess that's pretty big. It's very wide, but then skinny. It's like not proportional. Will Dan whip it out? Dan is gonna whip it out. He's gonna whip it out on stream tonight, so we can make a character. Dan's favorite war film. I don't know what Dan's favorite war film was. Probably one of the 2 that he mentioned. We don't talk about war films very much, actually. So, yes, Dan does dance under his Dance with the Devil in the Pale Moonlight. So I don't know if Dan were a brand of bidet, what would he'd be a day bidet. He'd be Godspell brand bidet. When will Dream Daddy happen? Dream Daddy is gonna happen tonight. Sort of, kind of, a little bit. Dan did not steal his cat. Amy chose Dan. Dan did not choose Amy. Okay? So, there you go. What is my favorite war film? Oh, geez. Sound of Music. Does Dan cry from Plague Dogs? I don't think he cries from the Plague Dogs, but maybe like the rest of the... Oh, hey, Dan! How's it going? Don't let him trick you. I heard him come back, you guys. So I know he's there. He's just trying to spy on question time, and that's just he doesn't even okay. I heard the chair move. He's just hanging out. Amy adopted Dan after a long day of just hanging out. She met Dan and was like, you know what, you human, you need some fluff and love and oh hey, how's those chips? Are they good? Are they good chips? Are those chips good? I got some chips.
I got the chips. I figured I was like, I'm feeling kind of snacky, and clearly I need a snack that is the best for streaming, which is something really crunchy and loud.
Yeah, obviously.
I don't think anyone's going to join this match.
It's funny because the things that make a snack a really good gaming snack are all the things that make a snack the shittiest snack for streaming.
Yes.
like eating a whole bag of chips while gaming, yes, it's the perfect. But crunching snacks into an on headphone built-in mic arm while you're streaming is like the worst. This is the worst streaming. I mean, not for our channel. For our purposes, it's perfect because we've built it in. But
because we are mukbang ASMR gaming analysis.
It's true. It's very true. So, whip it out, Dan. Just whip it out on channel for everybody.
All right, let's see if I can. No. Why is it not letting me?
Well, first of all, show us your beautiful face. How about you start with that step instead of this fucking team deathmatch screen? There we go. TJ says, this is not the chaste content I signed up for. I'm sorry, we'll go back to super prude next week. I believe this is our final Monday night stream
that is officially scheduled. Yes.
Yes.
Like there may, if we change our minds on that, it might be like a surprise stream. But as far as the official schedule is concerned, this is the final Monday stream. You got that sexy pink cartridge? Vince Gabrielle says, so I learned from this game that World War II was boring and largely fought in sterile jungles.
You can't hear the audio. Oh no, you can't hear this.
Oh no, I can't hear it. Stop it, start it over.
You're good.
And there's gonna be subtitles.
There's a theme song. I didn't know there was a theme song.
But I mean the theme song.
I didn't know there was a theme song.
God, go back and play me the theme song now. You go back, figure it out. Wait.
I need to adjust the audio levels. I need to turn the, I need to. Sorry. Yeah. Damn it. My stupid sound routing. How... Unfortunately, there isn't a, like, music volume slider. You've just got to set volume in thing. I'm gonna crunch. No, I'm gonna crunch them all over your experience. The best part is that I'm doing that to annoy you, and the stream can't hear. They can't hear your audio. They're at your desk, yeah, so they're just hearing me like crunch super close to my mic. It's got to be just like the worst, like just obnoxious. Like, how does anyone? Yeah, how does anyone tolerate me? Like, why am I allowed on the internet? All right. Yeah, it's basically just that loop. So. Oh, I'm sorry, everyone. Yeah, because I turned her down at the same time by accident. No, so when I turned I turned the desktop audio down in order to turn down the output of the game, but that turned you down as well.
Oh, that's bad. Fix that.
So I fixed it now, but it means that for the last like 30 seconds, people could barely hear you.
Oh, that's okay. I was just singing the Dream Daddy theme song. No big deal.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe if you create a Patreon, you could.
I could upgrade my soundboard so that I could have more routing.
Well, yes, you should do that. But what I was gonna say is, for one of the tiers rewards, is you could recreate the theme song with found sounds, and I will sing the Dream Daddy theme song.
You are also actually still quiet now, but that's because you're away. Like you've moved away from your mic.
I have. I moved further back because I was screaming at you to save me and let me hear the wonderful theme song. Hold on, I'm coming back. Okay, hello. Is that a little better?
That should be... It still looks really unbalanced. Did I change something?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. It's just... Well, it's really unbalanced all of a sudden.
Weird.
Okay. It should be good enough. Alright. New game.
I really hope there's subtitles. Because if there's not, this is going to be an issue that we're going to have to fix.
Oh, I would assume. I mean, I would assume, like, the entire thing is just going to be...
All the subtitles.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
I know there is some voice acting. Yeah, like the grumps, but I would assume that it's... From what I've heard, it's just limited voice acting.
Okay. Somebody said... One of the Game Grumps people said that most of their time in the voiceover studio was spent, like, recording different, like, like, noises.
Pretend to be dead. Ultimate dad move.
What are you talking about?
Can you not? Oh, you're behind. Here, let's just...
Hold on, I'm reloading because I think I was just frozen on the Dream Daddy screen. So I just hit refresh. Wait for it. Wait for it. It's loading. Oh, I'm sorry, Amanda. This is the end for me. Dad, I swear to God. That's what I just saw.
Yeah. So you'll be about 10 seconds behind, but we're just going to get to... So basically for tonight, we're gonna aim to get to Daddy Creation. And,
yes.
And yeah.
Oh.
Can I just say how freaking adorable Amanda is? And there's already been some stellar fucking cosplay of it on Twitter, and it's adorable.
All right. Dad building time.
Let's do this. I'm behind, so I'll help in a minute.
So we have a choice of 6 bods.
Cool. Alright. I like scrawny non-muscular dad, what I can tell from the thumbnails, but I can't see the main dad.
Okay. So scrawny non-muscular, we have 2 choices. We have cis and trans.
Okay. I narrowed it down. You pick. You pick which one.
We can also just
votes for the one wearing a binder.
The one with the binder. The one with the binder is also less hairy. So is that kind of the direction we want to go with that?
Okay. I'm okay with less hairy. I'm okay with with scrawny, non-hairy binder dad.
Okay. So, diamond head, heart head, oval, round, triangle chin. Kind of like triangle. I need to get some hair. I need some hair on this dad, like ASAP.
Yeah, you can't pick a head until you do the hair first.
Yeah.
Then it'll be easier to pick a head shape.
Oh man, there's some. Oh man, this is just the first two are Aaron hair and Danny hair.
Okay, no man buns. I'm not allowing you to go with a man bun. Is there like shaggy emo hair? Scroll down.
Shaggy emo? No one has a fringe.
I also like classic DA there.
The Dragon Ball hair?
Up to the left of, no. The DA, the duck's ass, the one all the way in the left row. Nope, down. But you're not
DA,
actually,
the duck's ass. What?
Yeah. Okay. Do you remember? Yeah, the DA. Like it's a classic 50s. Wait.
Oh, the pompadour?
Yes, the pompadour. Unless you want to go with like cloud hair.
Well, I'm kind of thinking like I'm actually kind of thinking Aaron hair or
one of the long hairs.
Or side part like I am kind of in my mind maybe recreating like myself a bit.
I like Aaron hair, like the one with the streak, the top one. Is that the one? Are you like channeling your
back when I still had hair?
Yeah, when you had Shakespeare hair. That first Aaron hair?
Yeah, because I kind of really miss my shaggy hair.
I'm into Aaron hair.
So.
Okay, now go back to head shape.
I kind of think triangle goes well. The forehead's still kind of high, but. Oh wait, we've got facial. Oh, we've got.
Right, but there's full facial hair options.
Yeah.
So we should look at the full facial before you choose shadow. Is triangle the middle one on the bottom row? Is that the one you're?
Yeah.
I'm into that. I'm okay with that. Oh man. Okay. I like the full beard or nothing. Those are the two I like as far as beards. Why are you back at hair?
Well, because I don't know. I'm just kind of seeing how they all go together.
How they look together?
Yeah. I kind of like the side part, maybe.
That one that you have with the beard.
Yeah.
I actually like how that looks. I'm into it. Either that or, okay, so we've seen how these look with, I don't like that one. I don't like Clark Kent hair, whatever that one is, with the curly Q. But I like side part hair. Alright, go back to, take off the beard, and now go look at the new hair with just the shadow.
Then take off the beard? Why would I take the beard off?
Because you changed the hair, so now I want to see what it looks like with just shadow instead of a full beard.
Yeah, but I'm gonna have the beard.
Oh, you definitely want the beard, so you were just picking hair that goes with the beard?
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine then. That's fine. Oh yeah, he looks way better. They look way better as a bearded person. Bearded up.
It's kind of weird that we've always got to have blonde eyebrows.
What? Why is what? Wait, what?
Just all of these have.
Don't change.
They don't seem to.
Weird. Jay Elmore says, I can't wait for the 17-part series from Rational Internet where they psychoanalyze Dan's avatar in the game. There's a browse menu I can see. That's probably where I changed the style and color.
Oh yeah, there we go.
What the hell did you? Are those just heart eyes?
Which makes it weird that you can't, that there isn't a like no eyebrows option. But
okay. I like that. Whatever those are, the bushy brows.
Yeah.
It makes you look kind of brooding with.
Oh, you mean the super, the wizard brows, or just the regular bushy? Oh yeah.
The one that's called bushy brows.
Yeah, we'll just leave bushy brows.
You can't even see your mouth anymore, so that
no, you
matter.
can't.
Someone says they make you look angry. I think it makes you look a little brooding, but in like a sexy way. And if you're going after Bad Dad first, then someone said this dad looks like Nietzsche, and I can't. Oh, please! He has to have glasses. They have to have glasses. I like the square or just the ones with the top frame. Those are my two options.
The glasses, the square. Yeah,
Go back to glasses and try.
I'm just the horn rimmed.
What?
I was just saying these visors, but so the ones that I like are just called the horn rimmed. But then there's the Vernon.
Okay, what's the bottom left though? The one that's like actual square.
Bottom
Not
left.
The skinny square, but the boxy square. Yeah, bottom left.
So the Vernon glasses, which you can make black.
Can you make them black though?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I kind of like the horn rimmed with the yellow highlight.
You just want that because you had that one pair of glasses that had the yellow stripe on them.
I love those glasses.
Yellow underside.
I love those glasses.
Chad is voting for black square, and I am with them on the sexy emo glasses.
The Vernon?
I don't know. Horn-rim's kind of classic. All right, I will let you have this. I'll let you have horn-rimmed with the yellow accent because of your glasses. Not those visors, though. It's unacceptable.
All right, clothing.
Okay. Wait, you need to pick your nose. I did not see nose options.
Oh.
My favorite part is that because this stream is named for the History Channel game, you might still get some people in here looking for a war game, and this is what
that's what they're gonna get at the end.
Okay.
I kind of like the button nose. I mean, none of them are bad.
I have to say, what's the second one in the bottom row? What's that one called?
Rumpole?
The one that's a button, but like a little bit of pointed. I can't see what it's called until my visual catches up.
I'll just wait here until your visual.
Yeah, okay. I like that one or button nose. I think that one fits the face, but I'm partial to a button nose because I have such a tiny nose, and I like it.
I'll just go with the button. Button's good.
Okay, button it is.
All right.
Okay, it doesn't matter what our mouth is because we can't see it. So piercings. Are you picking clothing before you pick piercings, Daniel?
I'm not getting any piercings.
No, you can't just say you're not going to get any. We need to see the options.
I'm not getting any piercings.
I want to see them, Dan. We can pick egg tits later.
Fine. There's the piercings.
I'm waiting. It's got to catch up. You're going to need to give it a second, okay?
Yeah, I'm giving it a second. Sitting here eating chips.
Okay, it caught up. Now show me the piercings.
You can see him right there.
I can't see. I just see barely little dots. Oh, they're all facial piercings, and they're all like weird ones. Is there one that's like just? Oh no, there's like an. You look at the earrings. Which ones have earrings? Because you have an ear showing.
There's like one, basically a stud, just a single stud, or a like full row.
I don't know. I kind of like the idea of a little black earring. I'm into it. Let's ask chat. Chat, single black earring or no piercings?
No piercings. Everybody side with me. I'm the one who actually controls the stream itself.
Nah, that's not true.
That's how we roll.
We have a full row vote, a couple no, another piercings, eyebrow piercing, nipple piercing, couple no piercing, single piercing, eyebrow piercing or nothing. All right, we have a lot. Nope. Okay, ear piercing. No. Okay, I think we have either too much contention to decide. So I think, all right, I will allow you to have no piercings.
Okay. All right, clothings.
I'm kind. The shirt then. Go on.
That's not how this. Oh.
Yes, it is.
All right, we got underoos where we can just walk around in our binder and jockey shorts.
No, that'll probably happen. There's gonna be scenes where or they would have shown it to you that way already.
We got plain white tee.
That's a name of a classic emo song. I'm into it.
We got Aaron clothes, Danny clothes, badass tee, egg nips tee, flower tee, maple bay tee, comme de Perret. Sagan is number 1. Plain suit, kitten suit, navy suit, party suit, Tommy Bananas suit. I kind of like the party suit. I also like the egg nips tee.
Okay, I actually like. We could have a happy medium of what's the one next. What's the suit that's next to party suit? That's not that crazy one. The one to the left.
Navy suit?
Well, yeah, was it little stars or something on it, or is it just blue?
Just dots.
It went by really quick.
It's got dots.
I like polka dots. I think we can find a happy medium in suited but not party hats.
All right.
Polka dots. I really enjoy egg nips a lot. And I almost went with the hamburger one because it reminded me vaguely of the noodle experience because it's a food tea. But I can't pass up on a sexy bearded man in glasses who's also wearing a dress shirt, particularly if it's polka dotted. So I think navy suit is what we have to go with. Did we do all the options? We picked our body, we picked our head shape, we picked our hair, we did our eyes, we picked button nose, mouth. Did you choose like one that looks okay on the drawing in case your beard ever gets shaved off or something?
I think so. So
okay,
let's
make sure your mouth looks okay in case there's a scene in which your beard goes away.
Yeah, it looks okay.
Okay, that's fine. And then picked our beard, picked your glasses. No piercings and clothing. All right.
Chat. I think chat seems to be on the verge of revolt, like mutiny for kitten suit.
For kitten suit and egg nips. Those are like the only two options they want. I'm sorry. I love you guys, but you voted against me for piercings. So you're no fucking... Now, there will be no kitten suit. Kitten suit or riot. I'm not allowing us to wear a cat suit or a party hat suit. It's not gonna happen. Oh my god, so many people are upset about your clothing choice. Wow. Either that or we're just gonna go with come to pair, and we're gonna go with the boob pocket with the heart condom pocket t-shirt. Condom pocket t-shirt? Wow, everybody's like really, I don't know, Dan, we're making like pseudo you. So I feel like it either, if it was you, it would have to be some kind of plaid, which doesn't exist, or the hamburger because of noodle experience, or the navy because you do have a lot of blue. So I think maybe the suit is the way to go. I feel like this is your professor persona. Like this is what you are when you're teaching classes.
My Professor Dad Sona. That our dad is. Dad. Okay. Yeah, I can get behind that.
All right.
Also, I agree they need to patch in like way more clothing, like just way more. Like this is good, but I want like triple.
Need some plaid. You need some plaid, and then you need some options where it's a suit with like normal shirts, but like crazy ties. Like I could have got behind this suit with the cat tie. I would have been totally down on that, or even a party hat tie, but not a full party hat shirt. That's a little.
Please never say Dad Sona again.
No, that's actually a thing. It's Dad Sona.
Like that's what the team has been saying on Twitter. So
it's Dad Sona.
It just kind of came out.
Deal with it.
Dad Sona. What am I even doing? Okay. I got my brain derailed there for a second. I need to screenshot that and
yeah, you need to send out your Dad Sona tweet so that I can retweet it.
Okay.
This is your Dad Sona for the next like 6 weeks. There you are. You better tag me in it. This is also me.
Yeah, because it's just you're still tagged in the thread. All right. We think we've settled on a Dad Sona hashtag Dream Daddy. Should I just tag them? Should I just tag them directly?
Yeah.
At
them. You
have at
to
Dream
also
Daddy game.
Add then like I wish there was plaid. Like how could they have no plaid in a game with dads?
Should we say sadly there's no plaid? Sad there's no plaid?
Yes.
Oh. Okay, so it's a very punny game. So I'm trying to craft this tweet a little bit. So sad there's no plaid. We're a plaid sad dad.
Yes. They're gonna tweet you back and be like, "Hi, plaid sad dad." I'm...
And tweeted.
Perfect. I saw it pop up. Alright, back to game. Do we want to, like... Actually, it's already 11:30. Like, this is a reasonable time.
Yeah, this is kind of where I planned to get to. So I'm gonna say, looking good, Daddy. Oh, we gotta name that Dad.
Oh, we do. Oh.
Wait.
Oh. Oh God. Oh no.
Name that Dad.
Oh no. You have to. It should be like. Oh no. We said we were gonna name him something that's like a thing.
We were gonna
So
meme.
We've got Gun Dad and Craw Daddy.
Ah.
I do like. No, your last name should be one word. Plaid Dad. Okay, first name. Got Gunner. Get it?
Just.
Because Gun Dad, but it's actually.
Just watch. Just watch. It'll catch
Gun
up.
Dad Cross Daddy. No, it's too much. Wait.
Okay. I will fix this. I ran into the character limit. I ran into a character limit, but I feel like I've worked around it.
Okay, it should be McCraw Dad. So just take out the Y. And I think we should make it Gunner, which is an actual first name, because we're all gonna know. Gunner McCrawdaddy. Or McCrawdad.
Gunner McCrawdad. And
said,
with a K.
Yeah, it's spelled with a K. Okay, I'm gonna wait for chat to like get on this new name.
I think they've got it. I think they've got Gunner McCrawdad. We just need to sell them on it. We need to sell them.
They're into it. No, they're into it. No, we're getting a lot of approval. They're just like a little. They had to catch up to all the typing.
Okay. Some people are saying.
Someone says take out just Dad, so it's Gunner McCraw, and I'm okay with that. I feel like we don't need Dad in our name. We all know you're a dad. Like you don't need to also be. You're not like Dad McDad. Like you're Gunner McCraw, right?
Gunner McCraw actually sounds like a rad 80s name.
It sounds like the most.
Like this is something. Like this is a screenwriter in 1983 is sitting there just blasted on cocaine, ranting about his relationship with his father and like the fact that he's named like Damien, and he's just like, "Fuck you, Dad, Gunner McCraw. My name should have been Gunner McCraw."
Wait. Someone says it should be Gunther instead of Gunner.
No.
And I like Gunner. But Gunner is spelled with an A if it's a name, so it's Gunnar.
Oh. That looks weird. Gunner?
Yeah, but it's a name. It's not a verb.
I kind of like with the E.
Okay, leave it an E. I'll allow it.
Like the E tells a story about his parents. You know?
Yeah,
like,
I think it does.
It tells a story. It's like if you're named Brittany with two Y's.
Or an IE. Okay, Gunner McCraw is Professor Dad.
I just want to say, Doughboy DeVito, Pussy Crusher McGee wouldn't fit in the character limit. So, sorry.
I do think. do think, though, that Gunnar McCraw is the new film and media video studies teacher at the school district you guys just moved to. That's my backstory, as far as I'm concerned.
And this is true. Like, he's wearing a binder, so he is implicitly trans. So chose the name for himself. He named himself, and he decided Gunnar McCraw.
Gunnar McCraw.
It was a name it's a meta name that suits the film instructor at the new film meet the new film instructor at the community college, Gunnar McCraw, Professor Gunnar McCraw. He has a PhD.
I'm so happy right now.
Like he has a doctorate in English literature. He did his thesis on a Marxist autoethnographic reading of Tarantino's movies, but only the ones he made in the 90s. That was his thesis paper.
Lolita.
So, yeah. Be that dad.
Be that dad.
Yes, you did it. I'm so excited for our backstory. I'm so pleased. So pleased.
All right.
You guys, we did a really good job, everyone.
Dr. Gunnar G. McCraw, PhD.
Oh, there you are.
Okay, I think we've got one more decision about
I'm waiting.
okay, so yeah. Our former partner, or Amanda's other parent, is also a dad, or is a mom?
Wait. Here's what I'm gonna go with and listen to my reasoning here. I'm gonna say mother, and this is why, okay? Because if we go with mother, we can say that the last relationship started when Gunnar was still a woman, and then we would have had two moms and two dads in the same storyline. And I'm into that. I think Amanda's game.
That
Please don't die.
back when Gunnar was still presenting female.
Yes.
Okay. This is. Other people are saying father, because then
I do see a lot of votes for continuity.
I kind of like that.
Paula says Gunnar has a specific need to always be perceived as gay, and I'm okay with that. That's why I wanted to be a mom.
Has a to always see. I like both of these. Like they both have kind of a compelling story behind them. I mean,
Yeah.
so it's like
I'm seeing a lot. People are speaking up to say mother. I agree with Chris. I agree with Crystal. So I'm seeing some other votes for me to say mom. Also, let's we could talk about this. Maybe Gunnar is just non-binary and is not necessarily specifically trans. You don't.
Yeah.
You know.
Also,
so it could be. Jay Elmore says 2 moms and 2 dads. This is the future liberals want, and it is. I'm telling you, vote for the only way your mother and I.
we need a fully gay backstory. I do like the idea that it's like I like that idea. Who said that in chat that Gunnar has a need to always be perceived as gay.
Always be perceived as gay. I feel like here's the thing. I feel like if you go with mom, it just like it kind of just like it doesn't fit any conventions, you know? Like,
I'm also fairly certain that this decision is not going to have any impact, like, beyond this conversation. Like, it's probably going to set, you know, one pronoun flag for, like, the game. But, yeah, I think we might be overthinking this.
okay. I say go. I say go with mother.
Mother? We're going mother? Mother? Alright, alright.
I think so. I think that's the way. I think that's the way mother it is. Let's do this.
You spent the first 2 years of your life with sunglasses on.
TJ says they believe that it only speaks to if Amanda is adopted or not.
Yeah, potentially. Yeah, there's, yeah. Aw, look at that Halloween costume. She's a Ninja Turtle dinosaur princess.
Oh, that was so would have been me.
Dragon, she's a dragon princess Ninja Turtle. You couldn't decide between being a princess or a dragon, so you went with both. Princess Dragon.
So cute.
You saw yourself in the mirror and realized you were afraid of dragons. Are you? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know why you would be.
Maybe it's just someone else's stuff.
Hmm.
You saw yourself in the mirror and realized you were afraid of dragons. Seeing yourself inside the dragon's mouth was a realization of your greatest fear, I think.
This was you in your horse phase.
In honor of the storyline, I will tweet a photo of me in the thread for this night's stream. In my dinosaur costume.
Amanda lunges for the photo, but I quickly snatch it away and hold it above her head with my superior dad arms.
With my superior dad arms. Okay, so I'm not looking.
Okay, alright. It's all coming together. Our improv backstory is coming together because Gunnar was, in fact, in a ska band named the Scommunist Manifesto.
Fuck yes! It fits! It fits so well. We're so good at this.
I look off into the distance and reminisce about that rad horn section.
Alright, photos it is.
Ugh.
Emma P. was the one who tried to steal people's pets, fired a flaming tennis ball at the police station, pooped her pants during a sleepover.
Oh, I don't think even a fictional person, I don't think I want to condemn.
I don't want to.
Pooped their pants.
Yeah, no, I don't want to condemn these first two. I don't know. Fired a flaming tennis ball at the police station.
I don't know. That sounds like a pretty badass friend for Amanda to have.
Yeah, exactly. As opposed to stealing people's pets, which is a little, yeah, tennis ball. Everyone, like it's unanimous.
Everyone
Chat
agrees.
is unanimous. It's tennis ball. Down with the cops.
Fuck the police, as they say.
Oh, it was us.
Oh yes.
Yeah. He's just like, I was a kid. And Amanda responded, I was 6.
That was you. You were a communist.
Oh man, this is great. F to Popo. The first photography award you ever won. Got us a $20 gift card to McFriday's.
Dad.
One last photo. Neither of us say a word. We stare at the photo for a long moment. I finally decided to break the silence. This was the day you were born, or this was the day we adopted you.
Aww.
Born?
People are saying both. I'm gonna say adopted because I don't think there's enough adopted characters in mainstream media.
That's a... No, you're right. That's a... Yeah, you're right.
Oh. Oh.
Come on, Pops. We gotta finish packing. The moving van won't wait forever. You're right. One last look at the old house.
Right.
So many memories here. Hard to believe your mother and I bought this place almost 20 years ago. Hey, remember when I shattered the front window playing catch? You always had very strong arms. Remember when I shattered the under front window pretending to be a robot who breaks windows? Hey, remember when I broke the back window? We get it, Amanda. You break stuff. And there'll be plenty more stuff for me to break in the new place. Memories to make and stuff to break. You ready? We sit in silence for a moment. I watched my daughter grow up in this house. I will forever hold a place in my heart, but it stings a little bit to leave it behind. I'm ready. The moving van begins to pull away, and I get the car into position to follow it. I watch our house, our old house, disappear in the rearview mirror. So what? So sell me on our cool new pad. I clear my throat and do my best cheesy announcer voice. Nestled in beautiful, scenic downtown Maple Bay, our new house features washer and dryer hookups, 2-car garage, multiple places to sleep. Multiple places to sleep. Washer and dryer
hookups. As someone who lives in New York City,
that is meaningful.
So that is so meaningful.
What is this palace you live in? The concept of clean clothes is no longer in the hands of the fat cats upstairs. Anyway, it's also smaller than our last house. Cozier, one might argue. Good spin. I think it's great. Won't we be close to a lot of cool stuff that we walk to, so I don't have to waste gas? I mean, trying to park downtown is, you know... Amanda, you know you're going to have to learn to parallel park at some point. All right. Not yet, but the neighborhood seems pretty quiet. So you won't have to chase any rowdy teens off our lawn. You are the very teen you mock when you say that, honey. I'm in my last year of high school. I'm practically dust. Yeah, you're a real, don't you dare, senior. I know where this is going, citizen. So what's item number 1 on the new house agenda? First, we'll need to forge a path through a solid wall of boxes that's blocking the living room. I still have to install the washer and dryer. We need to go grocery shopping.
Grocery shopping. I don't want to have to play through unboxing things. Maybe you'll meet someone sexy at the grocery store.
She's got a problem with authority. I am so proud. And is this a good place to save? Saving. Done saving.
I think so.
All right.
I think that's a good before we meet anybody.
So we've got we're going to start off on Saturday with our decision about our priorities, if we need coffee, if we need to unpack, or if we're going to go look at dogs.
I'm pre-voting for puppies, but, you know, that's
yeah.
I don't know. Your character makes me want to say coffee. That sounds like something Gunnar McCraw would need.
Yeah, yeah. So I think this is a good place to title.
Yeah, I think that's a good spot.
Yeah. So the reason, like, this is a good place to quit, because so it's 10 o'clock. I am on set at, what's my call time? 8? 8. Yes, my call time tomorrow is 8, which means I don't need to be up until 6 a.m. Ooh, a mere 6 a.m. for an hour drive out to set. So, yeah. So this is actually a good point for me to start wrapping up my my evening.
Wrap up your shit.
And yeah, we might be able to get Harrison out for some Dream Daddy if he's got some available time on a Saturday. So I will keep everybody updated. I'm thinking the Dream Daddy stuff, just because it is going to end up being a lot more helter skelter, and it's going to be like a lot of extra kind of videos. I am still thinking of putting that on the other channel. So just watch the link on the Twitter, and I will keep people updated. Particularly, I mean, there's always that chance that I will have absolutely zero energy come Saturday, because it's going to be a long 4 days. But starting on the new production thing. Starting the new show. Working on a show.
So exciting!
Yeah. I don't really have an ending.
Alright, so I will say though, so you're gonna go after Bad Dad, right? Like that's
Going after Bad Dad. We're still going after Bad Dad, and we're gonna fix him. That's still the plan.
No, you're not. There's not. You need to know.
That's still the awful plan.
As long as you save the next two, I'll probably see the end of Bad Dad. Like, I don't think you'll finish that.
Well, when are you back?
I can come back the weekend after, but
okay,
this next Saturday I'll be out.
Yeah, no, I doubt we'll complete. I mean, I have no idea how long any of the storylines are, but yeah, we'll see.
This is going to be a fun, exciting journey with Professor Gunnar McCraw.
Oh, did I? Right. Okay. I'll tweet that once we're done here about Professor Gunnar McCraw. Yeah.
He's the new film teacher at the community college.
That's a good. Jamie has been doing his own. Here, let me put it into chat, because Jamie has been doing his own LP of Dream Daddy, and here is part 3, because that's the first one that came up when I went to his channel. Yeah, so Jamie has been doing Jamie has been doing his own Dream Daddy playthrough, and my brain is just done right now. Like, I cannot think of another thought to, like, say.
Okay, all right, I'll wrap it up. guys, Dan will see you next Saturday. I will not be here that weekend. I will be away looking at pretty stars with no cell service. So good luck with that. But the weekend after, so from now on, it's going to be Saturday nights, no Mondays. Weekend after next, I will be back. And we will finish up with Bad Dad. And my vote is Goth Dad and Cute Bear Dad as the next two dads. But I think the plan is to try to get all of the dads before Dan comes back from his crazy professional work schedule.
Yeah.
So,
now there might be some regular streams in there because we've any like stat holiday is also a production holiday. Like we're not working. I have holidays off, so any Mondays except for I guess obviously PAX weekend, both that Monday and that Saturday are going to be unavailable because I will be there.
right.
The other channel here. I guess I can pull up that link real quick.
He'll tweet the link.
I'll
Dan
tweet
has
the
a
link,
separate
but
channel.
if you want to, so it's kind of a complete and utter mess at the moment, but it is here. Oops, remove any web addresses. Oh, wait, what? Oh, because I need to go back to, sorry. I actually had to switch who I was like logged. The easiest way for me to get there was to switch who I was logged in as. So I tried to post in chat as my other channel, and so it removed. So I can't.
Sent it to me.
So there's the other channel. You may notice that there's a lot of just like garbage on there. I will try to find some time to get it cleaned up, and also, I don't know, something, but that's probably where we'll do it from.
I got my other package, so you can look forward to some stupid Twitter/Periscope videos of me unboxing really boring shit. Guys, we still need a hashtag for banal unboxing, which is our code name for it so far, so that Dan and I can post dumb stuff and you guys can join in with us. So we'll get on that. But I think that's it. Dan, quick, end things. Good night.
Oh, that was the cue for me to push the button. Okay.